Chapter 3404. The six of them did not dare to say anything. Even they were worried that they could not find Longao's body. It was better to be safe than sorry. If Longao wasn't dead, things would get really troublesome. The more he looked at them, the angrier he got. The six people before him were nothing more than ants in his eyes. He did not even have the thought of killing them. He waved his hand impatiently and said coldly, "Get lost." How would they dare to stay any longer? The six of them turned around and left. In the blink of an eye, they had disappeared without a trace. Longao, even if you aren't dead, I'll find you. Ha ha, ha ha ha. The undying Heavenly Lord Wanshou, and Heavenly Lord Dark North were exasperated. Now that things had come to this, they could only hope that Longao would fall completely. They had intended to follow Heavenly Lord Zuyun, but to think that he would not want them, burning the bridge after crossing it. But there was nothing they could do about it. Heavenly Lord Zuyun's strength was right there for all to see. He even had the Heaven Drain sword in his hands. Even if the three of them were to join forces, they would not be a match for him. Dark North Wanshou, what should we do now? Guys, based on my guess, if Longao isn't dead, he will definitely come looking for trouble with us first. Rather than being passive, we might as well hide first. The three of them were no fools. They knew that if Longao wasn't dead, the three of them would be the first to be dealt with. That was without a doubt. The only thing they could do right now was to find a way to hide first. As long as Longao could not find them, even if Longao wasn't dead, he would not be able to do anything to them. Just as the three of them were about to leave and hide, the three of you, where are you guys heading to? Why don't we go together? Looking at the sudden appearance of this young man, the faces of the three of them changed entirely. All of them were horrified to the extreme. Even the combined forces of three full cultivation heavenly lords were not a match for Longao, let alone the likes of them. Truly, whatever they were afraid would happen. They were afraid that Longao wasn't dead. He really wasn't dead yet. They were astounded to think that the other party would not die under the mighty strike of the Purple Blood Emperor ancestor. If they had not witnessed it with their own eyes, they would have believed it. It was unbelievable. Longao, there is no enmity between us. Without waiting for the 10,000 beasts celestial to continue, Longao already knew what the other party wanted to say. He stopped the other party and said coldly, "Do you think that there is no grudge between us?" Hearing those words, his heart sank. Longao, what happened before was our fault. Besides apologizing to you, we are willing to compensate you. What do you think? Sure. Huh? Hearing Longao's words, the three of them were even more shocked. They also didn't think that Longao would be so easy to talk to. Was it true or false? Was he testing them? As if he could guess what the three of them were thinking, Longao said coldly, "If you want me to let you go, that's not a problem. However, you have to agree to 3 conditions." Please say, as long as they could keep their lives, not to mention 3 conditions, even if there were 30 conditions, they would agree without hesitation. Sneering in his heart, Longao said, "The first condition is that you destroy your own Dantian. The second condition is that you erase your primordial spirit and keep only the most basic memories. The third condition is that you leave all your treasures behind." They were completely stunned. The three of them didn't seem to think that Longao would put forward 3 conditions. If the three of them agreed to the 3 conditions, what was the difference between them and death? They were completely nonsensical conditions. Before the 3 of them could speak, Longao said, "I will say 3. If you still don't agree, then don't blame me for being impolite." 3. The 3 of them looked very gloomy and extremely ugly. They didn't dare to make a move. After seeing Longao's strength with their own eyes, they knew very well that even if they joined forces, they wouldn't be a match for Longao. They wouldn't even be able to withstand 10 moves. 2. Heavenly Lord Dark North couldn't take it anymore as he said hurriedly, "Longao, we are not willing. The 3 conditions that you have just mentioned are truly unacceptable. Therefore, we are willing to submit to you and be your dogs. The most loyal of dogs." Ha! Ha ha! Ha ha ha! Longao reared his head into the sky and laughed out. These were 3 Tao confirming heavenly lords. In the face of life and death, even Tao confirming heavenly lords were afraid of death. They were so afraid of death that they were even willing to be his dogs. If it were in the past, when he had just verified his Tao, or even when he had just broken through to become a Tao confirming heavenly lord, he might have needed 3 such dogs. But right now, his situation was completely different. Right now, he could kill any Tao confirming heavenly lord. In fact, he could even fight against ordinary Tao confirming emperors. Would he still need 3 dogs who were afraid of death? Looking at how Longao was not replying, the hearts of the 3 of them were getting grimmer by the moment. In fact, they were terrified to the extreme. They did not know what Longao was trying to do. Could it be that even if they were willing to be his dogs, the other party wouldn't be willing to accept it? They could not figure it out. Regarding their own strength, the 3 of them were extremely confident. If the 3 of them were to join forces, they could definitely fight against an advanced Tao confirming heavenly lord. Other than Tao confirming emperors, even Tao confirming emperors would be willing to submit to them. Just what was Longao thinking? However, the 3 of them were still afraid that Longao would strike out. The 3 of them glared at Heavenly Lord Wansho with a death stare. In fact, Heavenly Lord Wansho was even trembling a little. I can reject the 3 conditions as well, but you guys have to kill Heavenly Lord Zuyun. Of course, the 3 of them knew what Emperorian Zuyun meant. Even if Zuyun didn't have the so-called Heaven Drinker sword in his hand, the 3 of them wouldn't dare to provoke Emperorian Zuyun. After all, Emperorian Zuyun was a genuine Great Circle Emperorian who had verified his Tao. Longao, what do you mean by this? Don't! Before Immortal Heavenly Lord could finish his words, Longao used his finger to replace his sword. Sword chi shot out like a rainbow and instantly killed Immortal Heavenly Lord. Even his Yuan spirit was not spared. In order to prevent Immortal Heavenly Lord's Yuan spirit from entering reincarnation, Longao had even destroyed his last hope. Heavenly Lord Wansho and Heavenly Lord Dark North were startled. What a ruthless person. Under normal circumstances, as long as it wasn't a life and death feud, he would let the other party enter reincarnation even if he killed them. One could not be too ruthless in everything. Looking coldly at the 2 of them, Longao sneered and said, "You should have thought of this when you invited Zuyun to deal with me. You can't blame anyone else for today's outcome." The 2 of them finally understood that Longao had never thought of letting them go from the beginning to the end. It was just their wishful thinking. They only wanted their Yuan spirits to enter reincarnation. As if he could guess what the 2 of them were thinking, Longao nodded and said, "Your Yuan spirits can enter reincarnation. It's up to you whether you can awaken and be reborn." Chapter 3405. The 2 of them were surprised. However, before they could react, they were killed by Longao and entered the cycle of reincarnation. Longao was neither happy nor sad after killing 3 heavenly venerables. As his cultivation realm continued to increase, his state of mind also changed. Next, Longao was ready to find the other 3 heavenly venerables. Sky-devouring peak. The chaotic space was definitely a famous place, because there was a perfected heavenly venerate overseeing it. Sky-devouring sovereign was a perfected heavenly venerate and was very powerful. At the same time, he was also the most promising heavenly venerate to break through to the great emperor realm. Longao looked at the sky-devouring peak in front of him and sneered. "Sky-devouring sovereign, come out and die. Sky-devouring sovereign, come out and die. Sky-devouring sovereign, come out and die. Sky-devouring sovereign, come out and die." His voice rolled out, spreading throughout the 9 heavens and shaking the 9 heavens. Who the hell is this person? He actually asked Sky-devouring sovereign to come out and die. He's really awesome. He's too arrogant. Even if he's also a perfected heavenly venerate, he can't be like this. There are idiots every year. Every once in a while, there will be people who aren't afraid of death coming to the sky-devouring peak to make a name for themselves by defeating sky-devouring sovereign. They all died one by one. There were many heavenly venerate martial artists around the sky-devouring peak. After all, there was a perfected heavenly venerate overseeing the peak. If they could get some pointers from this perfected heavenly venerate, they would benefit greatly. Following Longao's angry roar, many people came over to watch. Feeling the source aura released from Longao's body, everyone knew that this extremely arrogant person was also an Empyrean martial artist who had confirmed his Tao. As for what level of heavenly venerate this person was, no one knew. However, according to everyone's guess, since this person dared to provoke sky-devouring sovereign, they believed that he was at least a high-level heavenly venerate or even a peak-perfected heavenly venerate. Whether it was true or not, no one was optimistic about this person. It was too ridiculous. Sky-devouring sovereign strength was there for all to see. Swoosh! Venerable devouring heaven appeared as well. Looking at Longao, who had come knocking on his door, venerable devouring heaven's heart sank. Previously, he had a bad premonition. His opponent's strength was too strong. Even if he was attacked by a Tao-confirming sovereign ancestor, it was still unknown whether he would die. As expected, his guess was correct. The other party did not die. Previously, the three of them had reached the peak of the Tao-confirming Empyreans and Zhu Yun's heaven-drinking sword, yet they were still unable to kill the other party. One could imagine just how powerful the other party was. Just by himself? Is that okay? There was no doubt about it. He took a deep breath. Suppressing the anger and impulsiveness in his heart, Senior Devourer Sky smiled and said, "Brother Dragon, I was wrong about what happened before. I hope you can stop now." Ah? Hearing Senior Devouring Heaven's words, the crowd was completely dumbfounded. They looked on in disbelief, as if they had seen something unbelievable. What was going on? Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Or had the world changed? It was too crazy. The high and mighty heaven-devouring venerable actually lowered his head and admitted his mistake. What did this mean? Many people had already guessed that sky-devouring venerate's apology could only mean one thing. This ignorant youth was stronger than sky-devouring venerate. Although they were unwilling to believe it, the truth was right in front of them. They had no choice but to believe it. Devouring heaven, do you think this matter can be written off? As soon as these words came out, there was an uproar. Even if his strength was stronger than sky-devouring venerate, sky-devouring venerate had already lowered his head and admitted his mistake. As long as one wasn't a fool, they would definitely accept it and forget about it. No matter what, sky-devouring venerate was still a Tao-confirming Empyrean. His strength could not be underestimated. If he went all out, it would be no small matter. Not only did this person not take advantage of the situation, but he even had the intention to continue causing trouble. How could the surrounding Tao-confirming Empyreans not be shocked? How arrogant! When can I be like this? Even if I die immediately, it will be worth it. Shut up. We still don't know what's going on. Maybe this person is just a paper tiger. After all, Longao was too arrogant. This kind of thing was rare in the primal chaos space, especially when sky-devouring venerate was a Tao-confirming Empyrean. Upon hearing Longao's words, sky-devouring venerate's face instantly darkened. Given his status, he had already taken the initiative to lower his head and admit his mistake. As long as the other party wasn't a fool or didn't want to fight to the death, the other party would choose to back down. If a Tao-confirming Empyrean went all out, it was no small matter. It would be fine if the other party had become a Tao-confirming Great Emperor. However, Longao was still a Tao-confirming Empyrean. It wouldn't be easy for him to kill sky-devouring venerate. The other party was really arrogant. Under such circumstances, sky-devouring venerate still gritted his teeth and suppressed the endless anger in his body. His voice had already turned cold as he said, "Brother Long, you didn't have to worry about the danger just now. After all, I owe Sky Venerate Zhu Yun a favor. Once I return the favor, it can be considered that I have nothing to do with him." The meaning of Sky-devouring venerate's words was clear. He had no choice in what happened just now. Now that things had come to this, not only did Sky-devouring venerate lower his head and admit his mistake, he even had a fawning look on his face. Looking at this, All the Tao-confirming martial artists were dumbfounded. They had never seen sky-devouring venerate act in such a manner before. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they would have found it hard to believe. Was this for real? Do you think that you can let it go just like that? Longao. Just what do you want? Sky-devouring venerate was at the end of his patience. If not for the fact that he was wary of the other party's strength, he wouldn't have acted in such a manner. He had already lowered himself so low, and yet the other party was still unwilling to let it go. Did the other party really think that he was a paper tiger? Lord Sky devouring venerate. This man doesn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. Please take him down. Please take action. Lord Sky devouring venerate. Take action, your mother. Sky devouring venerate martial artists, 18 generations of ancestors. If he could kill the other party, why would he have to lower himself so low? Creak, creak. All of a sudden, lightning crackled around Longao's body. The two Tao-confirming martial artists who had just spoken were struck by the lightning and disappeared into thin air. Even their essence spirits were scattered. Looking at the situation, all the Tao-confirming martial artists were startled as they retreated one after another. How could they dare to continue with their nonsense? The other party was simply too overbearing. Killing without a second word? This was way too tyrannical. Even a Tao-confirming emperor would not do something like this. But no matter how unwilling and displeased they were in their hearts, none of them dared to say a single word after witnessing what had just happened. If they were killed by the other party, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. P.S. Please support Little Nine's new book, Berserk Cultivation Upgrade. Bookmark. Recommend. Chapter 3406. His eyes narrowed. Once an expert made a move, one would know whether they were real or not. The moment the other party made a move, Venerable Devourer already knew that he was no match for the other party. There was no doubt about it. Devour the cycle of karma. I'll give you a chance now. As long as you can take one move from me, I'll leave regardless of life or death. One move? Many people around them laughed. Although this person was very strong, it was a bit ridiculous to say that Venerable Devourer couldn't even take one move from the other party. Was that possible? Even Venerable Devourer was a little stunned, as if he hadn't expected the other party to do that. Longao, aren't you a little too arrogant? You don't dare? Aha. I don't dare? All right, I'll take one move from you today. As soon as his voice fell, a figure came from afar in the blink of an eye. It was none other than Venerable Devourer's young master, Venerable Devourer Clouds. Father, Brother Long, what's going on? Father? Hearing the young master call Venerable Devourer father, Longao's heart sank, and he felt helpless. He had never thought that Venerable Devourer Clouds would be the young master's father. He treated the young master as a friend, so even if he was unhappy, he couldn't kill Venerable Devourer Clouds. Venerable Devourer Clouds didn't seem to have thought that Longao would be his son's friend, but he didn't hide much. Through spiritual consciousness transmission, he roughly explained what had happened. The young master's face grew gloomier. How could he not know that his father owed Venerable Zhu Yun a favor? He just didn't expect that Venerable Zhu Yun would ask his father to deal with Longao to return the favor. The young master was also shocked that Longao's cultivation had already broken through to the perfected heavenly venerate realm. Not only that, Longao could fight against 3 perfected heavenly venerates at the same time without being defeated. He could even suppress one of them. Was this for real? How long had it been? He was very clear just how heaven-defying the Sky Drinker's sword in Heavenly Venerate Zhu Yun's hands was. Heavenly Venerate Zhu Yun could practically dominate the ranks of Heavenly Venerates with this Sky Drinker's sword in his hands. However, he had never imagined that he would still be unable to suppress Longao. It had to be said that with Longao's talent and potential, including strength, no one below the Tao-confirming Great Emperor realm was a match for Longao. Most importantly, a Tao-confirming Emperor realm ancestor was unable to kill Longao. Even the young master was shocked. He cupped his fists. The young master was a little embarrassed to speak. No matter what, His father had joined forces with the other two to deal with Longao. If it were him, he would definitely come to take revenge. He sighed deeply. The young master looked at the young man in front of him with mixed feelings. He helplessly said, "Brother Long, this matter was my father's fault. I apologize to you on his behalf." He smiled. Longao smiled and said, "Young master, you worry too much. I didn't know that devouring heaven was your father. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come. You and I are friends. There's no need to say anything else." Sage devouring heaven heaved a sigh of relief when he heard this. His son really had a lot of face. Just one sentence, and Longao had let go of the grudge. Even if he was unhappy, the matter had already happened. He could only endure it because he knew that if he continued to speak, Longao would not show any mercy. After witnessing Longao's strength, devouring heaven could only lower his head. He felt helpless. More importantly, he felt humiliated. Ever since he had become a complete realm heavenly venerate, he had never been humiliated like this. Even heavenly venerate Zhu Yun, who had the sky drinker sword in his hands, did not dare to do this. The young master also heaved a sigh of relief. Since three great circle Dao confirming Empyreans joining forces were not Longao's match, he could completely imagine that as long as Longao was willing, he would definitely be able to behead his father. "Brother Long, since you have come to Devouring Heaven Peak, why don't you come in and have a seat?" Longao could not give Devouring Heaven any face, but he had to give face to his friend. He nodded with a smile and gestured for him to enter. None of the Dao confirming martial artists around were willing to leave, so they still stayed. The three of them entered Devouring Heaven Peak together. "Brother Long, I was wrong before. I apologize now." Longao waved his hand, not giving Devouring Heaven any chance to apologize. He smiled and said, "You're the young master's father, so let's forget about this matter. As for the other two, they won't be so lucky." The young master seemed to have thought of something and asked, "Brother Long, are you going to look for the Lunatic Sky Clan and heavenly venerate Zhu Yun?" "That's right," the young master said worriedly. "Brother Long, given your current strength, ordinary complete realm heavenly venerates are no match for you at all. However, heavenly venerate Zhu Yun has the devouring heaven sword and is very powerful. Even my father is no match for the devouring heaven sword." How could Longao not know what the young master meant? He sneered and said, "The devouring heaven sword is just trash." Venerable Sky Devourer despised Longao in his heart. In his opinion, Longao must have said this on purpose. Longao was very clear about what Venerable Sky Devourer was thinking and did not say much. He said, "Young master, don't you want to break through to the great perfection realm and become a celestial venerable?" "Yes." The young master was very curious. He did not know what Longao meant. Of course, he hoped that he could break through to complete realm heavenly venerate. However, it was easy to think about, but it was very difficult to actually do it. Otherwise, very few of the tens of millions of heavenly venerates could become complete realm heavenly venerates. Nodding, the young master's face was filled with loneliness. "Young master, if you can forcefully devour the primordial spirit and power of a complete realm heavenly venerate, I believe it won't be long before you become a complete realm heavenly venerate. Brother Long, if you forcefully devour it, not only will you not be able to break through, but you might even suffer a backlash. At that time, the consequences will be unimaginable. If it was possible to break through like this, the chaos space would have been in chaos. Even a great emperor would be afraid of the backlash if he devoured a heavenly venerate's primordial spirit." The young master really could not understand why Longao was like this. Did he not know that it was impossible to devour a complete realm heavenly venerate's primordial spirit? Longao smiled and said, "Leave the rest to me. You just need to devour it. Young master, if nothing unexpected happens this time, you should be able to become a complete realm heavenly venerate." Although the young master still didn't quite believe it, but since Longao had already said so, he could only nod his head and say thank you. At this moment, Devouring Heaven smiled and said, Brother Long, I also want to go and take a look. What do you think? Chapter 3407. For the sake of the young master, Longao certainly wouldn't have the slightest problem. They left as soon as they said so. The three of them got up and left the sky-devouring peak. The lunatic heavenly venerable returned to the floating mountain. In the lunatic's opinion, Longao would undoubtedly die after being hit by the purple blood imperial ancestor. There was no suspense. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the Tao confirming heavenly venerable realm. He was only one step away from successfully advancing to the Tao confirming great emperor realm. The last step, it was too difficult. He was helpless. Ever since his cultivation had successfully broken through to the peak of the Tao confirming great emperor realm, he had spent countless years condensing his origin domain. The floating mountain. His face was filled with sadness. His only son was killed just like that. Even if Longao died 1,000 times, or even 10,000 times, it wouldn't be enough. He didn't care about Longao's life or death at all. Lunatic, long time no see. How have you been? Looking at the three people who suddenly appeared in front of him, the lunatic's face was completely stunned. Disbelief was written all over his face. It didn't matter if the heavenly venerable and the young master came. The only one was Longao. Wasn't Longao already dead? What was going on? The lunatic's face was very gloomy. He seemed to have guessed something and said coldly, Longao, you killed my son. I, lunatic, hereby swear that I will tear you into pieces in this life. Ah, lunatic, are you out of your mind? Do you think you are Brother Long's opponent now? The young master sneered. He was very clear about Longao's strength. Even if three peak Tao confirming heavenly venerables joined forces, they were still no match for Longao, let alone the lunatic alone. It was simply nonsense, although the young master still didn't know what Longao would do. However, if he could really devour the lunatic heavenly venerable's primordial spirit without any backlash, then it would be great news for him. If a peak Tao confirming heavenly venerable cultivated under normal circumstances, who knew how long it would take to break through. However, if he could devour the primordial spirit of a perfected Tao confirming celestial venerable, he believed that he would be able to smoothly break through to the perfected Tao confirming celestial venerable realm within a few months. Young master, what are you? You dare to flaunt your prowess in front of me? He didn't put the young master in his eyes at all. Heaven-devouring venerable couldn't take it and mocked. Madman, others are afraid of you, but that doesn't mean I am. Who do you think you are? Ha, a bunch of trash. Longao waved his hand and stopped the furious heaven-devouring venerable. He said coldly, your mistake is unforgivable. I now declare that you must die. Longao, with just you. Before Longao could speak, the madman continued, I admit that with my strength, I'm no match for you. But if you want to kill me, ha ha ha, he didn't believe it at all. The madman had absolute confidence in his own strength. If he were to fall so easily, he wouldn't have been able to survive till now. Longao did not want to continue with this nonsense. The divine battle sword appeared in his right hand and slashed out. Even though it looked like a simple sword, it contained a horrifying amount of power. While it was gathering the source energy continuously, it even brought along a whirlwind. Sword breaking heaven and earth. This was the first time Longao had used this move ever since he had comprehended it. Whether or not it could kill a perfected Tao, confirming heavenly venerable, was still unknown. The faces of the young master and heaven-devouring venerable changed as they retreated hurriedly. They looked at this move of Longao in horror. This was especially the case for heaven-devouring venerable. Although he already knew that Longao's strength was far above his, he still couldn't believe that Longao's strength was so strong. Just this move alone was enough to kill him. He didn't even have the chance to resist. The young master also sighed endlessly. How long had it been? Longao's cultivation had not only successfully broken through to the great perfection, Tao, confirming Empyrean, but he had also comprehended such a powerful move. Below the great emperor, Longao was the number one person. The lunatic, who had been brimming with confidence, jumped in fright when he sensed the terrifying sword chi. Just as the lunatic wanted to resist, he was horrified to discover that his body had already been locked down by the sword chi. Longao, even if I die, I will drag you down with me. At this moment, Empyrean Madman finally realized that Longao indeed had the ability to kill him. Since he was going to die anyway, he had to drag Longao down with him. No matter what, the enmity of killing his son was absolutely irreconcilable. You want to self-detonate your primordial spirit? Longao snorted coldly. How could he not know what the lunatic heavenly venerate meant? If it was before, he wouldn't be able to do anything about the lunatic heavenly venerate's primordial spirit's self-detonation. But now, the situation was completely different. Forbid. As Longao uttered the word forbid, a horrifying scene unfolded. The lunatic heavenly venerate, who was about to self-detonate his primordial spirit, was horrified to find that his body, including his primordial spirit, had been frozen. Everything around him had been forbid. Sneering, Longao said again, retreat. Under the support of retreating, Longao's speed soared to the limit. Sword breaks heaven and earth was unleashed once again. The sword was unleashed, and the sword chi was like a rainbow. The sword chi followed the momentum and cut through the sky. With a kacha sound, the lunatic was killed by the sword chi in front of his eyes. Young master, I will do my best to help you refine and fuse the devouring primordial spirit. Devouring heaven, guard us? All right. Devouring heaven didn't hesitate at all. He was more than happy to help his son break through to the full circle and become a heavenly venerate. If anyone dared to cause trouble, he would even fight with his life on the line. Longao and the young master didn't hesitate any longer. They immediately began to help the young master devour the lunatic heavenly venerate's primordial spirit. The young master would definitely be devoured by the primordial spirit if he devoured it normally. Not to mention using the primordial spirit to break through to the full circle and become a heavenly venerate. His life might even be in danger. Looking at Longao, who was helping his son devour the primordial spirit in front of him, Tunshin sighed. The sword moves and divine abilities that Longao displayed just now were really a little heaven-defying. Not to mention a perfected heavenly venerate. Even a rank 1 Tao-affirming great emperor might not be a match for Longao. The more he thought about it, the more scared he became. If his son hadn't appeared in time, he would have died without a burial ground. No wonder Longao was so arrogant. He had the right to be arrogant. It was a great thing for his son that the young master could make such a friend. The primordial spirit of a great perfection Tao affirmation contained a huge amount of power, which was enough to allow the young master to smoothly break through from a high-level Tao affirmation, Celestial Venerable, to a great perfection Tao affirmation, Celestial Venerable. With Longao's wholehearted help, he would not suffer from the primordial spirit backlash of the madman, Celestial Venerable. Longao had full confidence in this. Chapter 3408. The young master was pleasantly surprised that his cultivation base had successfully broken through to the perfected heavenly venerate realm. As expected, although he didn't know how Longao did it, the truth was right in front of him. However, as a friend, the young master didn't ask too much. Brother Long, I can't thank you enough. You and I are brothers. There's no need to say anything. He nodded. Young master, I still have some matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first. Everyone had their own secrets, so the young master was naturally clear about it. He didn't say much and turned to leave with Heaven Devourer. He had already killed Heavenly Venerate Lunatic, and next was Heavenly Venerate Zhu Yun. Of the 6 Heavenly Venerates who had besieged him back then, other than Heaven Devourer, who didn't kill him for some reason, the others had already been killed. Only Heavenly Venerate Zhu Yun was left. Back then, he wasn't afraid of Heavenly Venerate Zhu Yun, let alone the current him. Zhu Yun Mountain Range. Ever since he returned to the mountain range to cultivate, Zhu Yun had a bad premonition. However, before he could react, Long Ao had already come knocking on his door. It was really what he was afraid of. With the Heaven Devourer's sword in his hand, he had never been afraid of any heavenly venerate. Only this Long Ao was a complete freak. Long Ao, our previous grudges are written off. I'm willing to compensate you with anything as long as you're willing to stop. How about it? In the face of such a powerful monster, Zhu Yun finally chose to compromise. Although face was important, it was still not enough in the face of life and death. Even if he was a perfected heavenly venerate, he was still afraid of death. With a sneer, his face was full of ridicule. Long Ao said with a sneer, "First, enter samsara. As for whether you can rise again, it depends on your luck." Zhu Yun's body trembled slightly. He never thought that he had already chosen to compromise, but the other party was still unwilling to give up. He was still suppressing the anger in his heart. Zhu Yun knew very well that under such circumstances, as long as he made a move, the other party wouldn't even talk nonsense with him and would definitely kill him directly. Second, hand over the Heaven Devourer's sword. The anger in his heart was on the verge of erupting. He knew better than anyone else what the Heaven Drinking Sword meant. Although his cultivation base had already reached the peak of the Tao validation stage, if he faced a heavenly venerate of the same level, even heavenly venerate lunatic and heavenly venerate devourer would not be a match for him if he did not have the help of the Heaven Drinking Sword. The Sky Drinker Sword was just too important to him. Unless he was out of his mind, he wouldn't hand it over. Long Ao sneered inwardly when he saw the other party remain silent. He was really good at enduring. Thirdly, you have to leave your primordial spirit behind. As soon as he finished speaking, Heavenly Venerate Zhu Yun's face was gloomy to the extreme. He could no longer control his anger. Like a volcanic eruption, he roared furiously, "Long Ao, you've gone too far. Even if I die, I won't let you have your way." The Sky Drinker's sword appeared in his right hand without any hesitation. Heavenly Venerate Zhu Yun knew very well that the other party's three conditions were completely intentional. The other party clearly knew that he wouldn't agree and wanted him to make the first move. This was a game of cat and mouse. Even though he knew that he wasn't a match for the other party, it was still unknown whether the other party could really kill him with such a powerful Sky Drinker sword. How could Long Ao not know what Zhu Yun was thinking in his heart? Forbids! Long Ao had comprehended the 9-revolution primordial chaos technique ever since he had broken through to the 8th revolution. There were a total of 3 trump cards: Advance, Forbid, and Retreat. With this divine ability and the Cosmos Breaking Sword, he could easily kill a 1st Revolution Tao Validation Great Emperor or even a 2nd Revolution Tao Validation Great Emperor, let alone a Tao Validation Heavenly Venerate. It was completely imaginable how heaven-defying this divine ability and the Cosmos Breaking Sword were. As Zhu Yun watched in shock, Long Ao's sword chi severed his waist and grabbed the other party's primordial spirit. "You don't even have the chance to reincarnate now. Long Ao, don't be too complacent. You will." He didn't want to listen to Zhu Yun's nonsense and directly crush the primordial spirit's consciousness before entering his chaotic dantian. Little Pig, the 10 chaotic divine beasts, Qin Shuang Shuang, and the other 3 girls all gathered around and asked questions. Long Ao smiled and roughly told them what had happened. Little Pig exclaimed, "Boss, I really didn't expect you to be so powerful. You can actually kill a perfected heavenly venerate in seconds." Long Ao took out Zhu Yun's primordial spirit. As for the Tao validation seed, it would definitely disappear with Zhu Yun's death. Even he couldn't do anything about it, and could only hold on to the primordial spirit. This is Zhu Yun's primordial spirit. Which one of you will devour and refine it? Everyone sighed when they saw the primordial spirit in Long Ao's hand. Of course, they knew what it meant to be a perfected heavenly venerate. Once devoured, one could instantly become a Tao validation heavenly venerate with the help of Long Ao. The 4 girls looked at each other and didn't say anything. Cough, cough. I just felt Zhu Yun's primordial spirit. Among the 4 of you, Sister Yun is the most suitable. If Sister Yun devours it, I have full confidence that I can forcibly raise Sister Yun's cultivation to perfected heavenly venerate within 3 years. Brother Long, let Sister Yun devour it, Qin Shuang said immediately. As for Yun Xian and Ling Ruoi, they didn't have any objections. Yun Shi also nodded and didn't refuse. Why would she refuse something her man gave her? Well, in that case, let's start now. Longao was also a little impatient. Although the 4 girls were safe in his chaotic dantian, he couldn't be so selfish. The chaotic dantian was like a cage. Not to mention the 4 girls. Even he couldn't stay here for long. It was completely ridiculous. Under normal circumstances, how could Yun Shi devour a Tao validation, heavenly venerates primordial spirit? Moreover, it was a perfected heavenly venerates primordial spirit. It was a complete joke. However, with Long Ao's full help, it was a completely different concept. Even if he was full of confidence, Long Ao still had to be careful just in case. He was 120% alert, afraid that the slightest mishap would happen. This was because he knew that helping Sister Yun devour Zhu Yun's primordial spirit would consign her to eternal damnation. At that time, Sister Yun might even die, let alone become a Tao validation, heavenly venerate. He couldn't let any mishap happen. The only way was to be very, very careful. Chapter 3409. 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. Looking at Yun Shi before him, Long Ao finally heaved a sigh of relief. Brother Long, how is Sister Yun? Long Ao smiled and said, in 3 years, Sister Yun will become a heavenly venerate. As for how far she can go, it's up to her. With his help, Yun Shi would definitely become a heavenly venerate after devouring Ancestor Yun's primordial spirit. As for how far she could go, it was not up to him to decide. Early stage, heavenly venerate, intermediate stage, heavenly venerate, advanced stage, heavenly venerate, or complete stage, heavenly venerate. Everything depended on Sister Yun. However, Long Ao certainly hoped that Sister Yun could reach her goal in one go and become a complete stage heavenly venerate. Qin Shuang smiled and nodded. She was also happy for Sister Yun. Brother Long, are you going to look for Purple Blood Emperor Ancestor and the others? Purple Blood Emperor Ancestor? Long Ao's eyes gradually turned cold. 6 Tao confirming emperors had joined forces to suppress him. If it wasn't for his good luck, how could he have reached this stage? If he did not take revenge, he would not be a man. Chaotic space. There was a boundless mountain peak. It was impossible to see the end of it. At the peak of the mountain, there was chaos everywhere. Purple Blood Imperial Ancestor sat quietly at the top of the mountain. At this moment, he suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the chaotic void before him. Swoosh! 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 5 figures came quickly. There were 4 men and 1 woman. There was no aura from the 5 of them, as if they were ordinary people. Purple Blood, why did you call us here in such a hurry? I have been in seclusion for hundreds of millions of years. When I finally had some enlightenment, I was forcefully pulled out. If you don't give me an explanation today, I will not forgive you. Shalu is right. Purple Blood, what's the matter? With a gloomy face, Purple Blood cupped his fists and said, please take a seat. The 5 of them sat down. Looking at Purple Blood's gloomy face, the 5 of them seemed to feel that something was wrong. They knew that as a Tao confirming Emperor Ancestor, there was nothing that could make Purple Blood act like this. What was going on? The 5 people who had just arrived at the mountain peak were all Tao confirming emperors. They were the Purple Blood Imperial Ancestor, the Yin-Yang Imperial Ancestor, the Devouring Imperial Ancestor, the Heaven-Shrouding Imperial Ancestor, the Heaven-Floating Imperial Ancestor, and the Heaven-Slaughtering Imperial Ancestor. Back then, the 6 Tao Vindication Sovereigns had a grudge against Long Ao, and some of them had almost been killed by Long Ao. After some discussion, the 6 of them decided to join forces to deal with Long Ao. The 6 of them joined forces to fight Long Ao. That battle was world-shaking. They fought until the entire primal chaos space dimmed. In the end, the 6 of them killed Long Ao. However, Longao was a Tao Emperor ancestor. His primordial spirit was extremely close to being indestructible. It was impossible for them to completely destroy Longao. He had no other choice. The six of them could only temporarily decide to send Longao into the reincarnation cycle. Then they would think of a way to destroy Longao completely. When Longao entered the reincarnation cycle, the six of them helplessly realized that they could not destroy Longao's primordial spirit. They could only suppress it and let it enter the reincarnation cycle. Other than that, there was no other way. Under normal circumstances, with the strength of the six of them, as long as there were no accidents, it was almost impossible for Longao to successfully reincarnate and attain the Tao. But what was the result? Purple Blood Imperial Ancestor sighed deeply and said helplessly, "We're in big trouble." F***CK. Purple Blood, what's going on? Can you tell us clearly before you sigh? The five of them already felt that something was wrong with Purple Blood. The more Purple Blood acted like this, the more anxious they were. It was not a simple matter to make Purple Blood act like this. It was very depressing. Purple Blood Imperial Ancestor sighed again, seemingly afraid of Longao. He said helplessly, "Because the six of us chose to cultivate in seclusion, Longao seized the opportunity and succeeded in the reincarnation cycle. F***CK. And here I thought it was something big. That scared me." The Yin-Yang Imperial Ancestor did not put him in his eyes at all. He said nonchalantly, "So what if Ao Long reincarnates? It's not like he hasn't reincarnated before. Out of the 10,000 reincarnations that we have suppressed, there were about 3,000 successful reincarnations. However, we still found him and forcefully suppressed him back into reincarnation." Shrouding Heaven Ancestor shook his head and said, "Let Purple Blood finish." Shrouding Heaven Ancestor knew that Purple Blood Imperial Ancestor wouldn't be so serious if Longao's reincarnation cycle was successful. Since Purple Blood Imperial Ancestor knew about Longao's success, he would definitely try to suppress him. With Purple Blood Imperial Ancestor's strength, suppressing Longao's reincarnation cycle was too easy. It seemed that things weren't as simple as they thought. Under normal circumstances, the six of them would find Longao's reincarnation cycle and attack him. There was no need to worry about suppressing Longao's reincarnation cycle. After all, Longao was no longer a peak Imperial Ancestor. Purple Blood Imperial Ancestor continued, "Because of our mistake, Longao's reincarnation cycle was successful, and he's now an intermediate Tao confirming Heavenly Sovereign." What? The five Tao confirming Imperial Ancestors stood up in shock. They knew very well what it meant when Longao became a Tao confirming Imperial Ancestor and recovered his peak strength. Back then, the six of them had paid a huge price to kill Longao. They were absolutely unwilling to repeat the same mistake. Imperial Ancestor Yin Yang said angrily, "It's really troublesome. In just a few thousand years, he was able to reach this step. We shouldn't have cultivated in seclusion. Now that Longao has become a Tao confirming Heavenly Sovereign, what should we do when he breaks through to Tao confirming Great Emperor and returns to Tao confirming Imperial Ancestor?" The five Tao confirming Imperial Ancestors looked gloomy. They had never thought that something like this would happen. However, it was too late for regrets. The most important thing now was to think of a way to remedy the situation. No matter what price they had to pay, they couldn't let Longao return to being a Tao confirming Imperial Ancestor. Purple Blood Imperial Ancestor looked at the five of them and said, "You already know what happened. Now, tell me, what should we do?" If other people knew that the six Tao confirming Imperial Ancestors had gathered together to discuss how to deal with a Tao confirming Heavenly Sovereign, they would be speechless. However, there were only 18 Tao confirming Imperial Ancestors in the entire Primal Chaos space. Although Longao had fallen, the other people in the Primal Chaos space didn't know about this. In their opinion, there were still 18 Tao confirming Imperial Ancestors in the Primal Chaos space. For countless years, the 18 Tao confirming Imperial Ancestors were the peak existences of the martial Tao. P.S. Please support Xiao Zhou's new book, Cultivation's Berserk Upgrade. Bookmark recommend. Xiao Zhou thanks. Chapter 3410. So what if Longao has become a heavenly venerate? The devouring imperial ancestor sneered and said, as long as he hasn't recovered to become a Tao-confirming imperial ancestor, we'll have a chance to kill him. That's right. A Tao-confirming heavenly venerate was just an ant in front of them. As long as they were willing, any one of them could easily kill Longao. Moreover, even if Longao was at his peak, they could kill Longao, let alone now. There was only one thing that the six of them were worried about. When Longao recovered to become a Tao-confirming imperial ancestor, they would be defeated one by one. None of the six of them would be a match for Longao. How could they not be worried? How could they not be afraid? After all, the six of them had paid a huge price to deal with Longao. No one wanted that to happen again, so they had to get rid of Longao as soon as possible. The chaos space is boundless. Longao must know that we're going to deal with him. He'll definitely hide. It won't be easy for us to find him. Yin Yang is right. If he continues to hide, how can we stop him when he recovers to become a Tao-confirming imperial ancestor? Then tell me, what should we do now? The ethereal imperial ancestor, the only female among the 6 Tao-confirming imperial ancestors, asked anxiously. Among the 6 sovereign ancestors, the ethereal sovereign ancestor was the weakest. If she waited until Longao's cultivation recovered to its peak and defeated them one by one, not to mention the others, she alone would definitely die if she encountered Longao. She was terrified. Although she was a Tao-confirming imperial ancestor and her primordial spirit was infinitely close to an indestructible state, she did not want to enter reincarnation. What if his fate was the same as Longao's and he was suppressed for 10,000 reincarnations? Just thinking about it made him feel scared. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that something was wrong. They had been suppressed in reincarnation for 10,000 years. However, the other party had seized the opportunity and succeeded in Tao-confirming imperial ancestor. Was it a coincidence? Or was it something that the great Tao of chaos had arranged? Why don't the 6 of us jointly issue an imperial ancestor hunting order? I don't believe that we won't be able to find Longao's tracks with the coverage of all the Tao-confirming martial artists. At this moment, the 6 of them were not worried that Longao would be able to kill them. After all, the current Longao was only a Tao-confirming heavenly venerate. He could not threaten them at all. The only thing they were worried about was that once Longao went into hiding, they wouldn't be able to find any traces of Longao. Once Longao became a Tao sovereign ancestor, everything would be too late. The ethereal royal ancestor said helplessly, "It's just the 6 of us. It's not very useful." After all, the other royal ancestors are not easy to deal with. Miao is right. If we want to deal with Longao, we should join forces with the other sovereign ancestors. It's easy for you to say. We've already sent out an invitation back then, but none of the Tao-confirming imperial ancestors were willing to take action. They weren't in the past, and I believe none of them are willing to take action now. There were a total of 18 Tao-confirming imperial ancestors in the chaos space. Other than Longao, who had fallen into samsara, and the 6 of them, there were a total of 11 Tao-confirming imperial ancestors. None of the 11 Tao-confirming imperial ancestors were willing to take action. The reason was simple. Even if Longao was suppressed by them, no one could guarantee that Longao would not be able to recover his peak strength. Once Longao recovered to the Tao-confirming imperial ancestor realm, no one would be willing to provoke such a powerful Tao-confirming imperial ancestor. 6 Tao-confirming sovereign ancestors had jointly issued a sovereign ancestor hunting order, but it was unable to command all the Tao-confirming cultivators in the entire primal chaos space. Moreover, it was unknown whether the other 11 Tao-confirming sovereign ancestors would interfere in this matter. What should they do? There's only one way now. We must find Longao as soon as possible and suppress him into samsara. No matter what, We can't let him recover to the Tao-confirming Imperial Ancestor realm. Then the 6 of us will go and find the other 11. As long as they remain neutral, this matter will be much easier. Since things had come to this was the only way. The 6 Tao-confirming Imperial Ancestors did not hesitate and immediately split up to find the other 11 Tao-confirming Imperial Ancestors. It was difficult to get the other 11 to help, but it was very easy to get them to remain neutral. The other 11 Tao-confirming Imperial Ancestors did not have any objections. Although they were unwilling to provoke Longao, they were also unwilling to provoke the 6 Tao-confirming Imperial Ancestors. The only way was to remain neutral. Next, the Purple Blood Imperial Ancestor, the Yin-Yang Imperial Ancestor, the Devouring Imperial Ancestor, the Shrouding Imperial Ancestor, the Ethereal Imperial Ancestor, and the Slaughter Imperial Ancestor jointly issued an Imperial Ancestor hunting order to kill a martial artist called Longao, who had just become a heavenly master. Once the Imperial Ancestor hunting order was issued, who would dare to disobey? However, for countless years, the Imperial Ancestor bounty order rarely appeared. Most people wouldn't care if it was issued by just one Imperial Ancestor. However, 6 Tao-confirming Imperial Ancestors issued this order at the same time. The meaning behind this order was completely different. Not only that, but the rewards offered by the 6 Imperial Ancestors for the Imperial Ancestor hunting order were simply irresistible. At the same time, all the Tao-confirming martial artists, Tao-confirming heavenly venerates, and even Tao-confirming great emperors began to search for Longao's whereabouts. Many people did not know who Longao was and why a puny heavenly master like him was worth the Imperial Ancestor hunting order jointly issued by 6 Tao-confirming Imperial Ancestors. This kind of thing was unheard of. As soon as Longao left the chaotic space, he received news that the 6 Tao-confirming Imperial Ancestors had issued an Imperial Ancestor hunting order to kill him everywhere. It was obvious that they wanted to suppress him again. It was really ruthless. Master, the 6 of them already know about this. Next, you must be careful. You must not let them find you. Otherwise, Emperor Tianzong did not continue speaking, but the meaning in his words was very clear. Longao was not a fool. How could he not understand the meaning in his disciples' words? Since he had successfully reincarnated and had reached this step, it was impossible for the 6 Tao-confirming Imperial Ancestors to continue suppressing him. He had already suppressed 10,000 generations. It was impossible for him to suppress another generation. Do you know where your other 5 senior brothers are? The most important thing now was to break through to the Tao-confirming Great Emperor as soon as possible and then find his other 5 disciples. His 6 disciples were Emperor Tianzong, Emperor Tiankui, Emperor Tianqi, Emperor Tianyu, Emperor Tianhua, and Emperor Tianshui. Now, except for Emperor Tianzong, his other 5 disciples were missing. He did not know where they were. Master, are you going to find them? Yes. Of course, Yizong knew what his master meant. After thinking for a while, he said, "Back then, my 5 junior brothers were almost killed by the 6 of you. At the last moment, I sent them away. If I'm not mistaken, they should all be in the chaotic space." Chapter 30:411 Chaotic World? Longao didn't continue to stay in the chaotic space and return to the chaotic world. The current chaotic world was in a terrible state. With the destruction of the Domain Lords Alliance and Pill Hall, the entire chaotic world was in chaos. Countless sects began to fight for the chaotic world. Han Yin and Song Lin were originally in the chaotic Dantian. However, the 2 ladies wanted to pay their respects to their loved ones. Hence, they had to return to the chaotic world first. Brother Long, you're back this time? Looking at the 2 ladies, Longao first sent the 2 ladies back to the chaotic Dantian and said a few words. Then he began to look for his 5 disciples. Blackstone Heavenly Region. No matter how chaotic the other heavenly regions were, Blackstone Heavenly Region was still as peaceful as before. That was because the dragon sect was in the Blackstone Heavenly Region. The 5 Elements' old ancestor had recovered from his injuries and had broken through the chaotic reincarnation. He was an expert in the chaotic world. "Master, you're finally back." Looking at Longao, the 5 elements' old ancestor was surprised. However, with Longao's warning, the 5 elements' old ancestor didn't take a step forward for so many years. Otherwise, with his strength, even if he wanted to dominate the chaotic world, it wouldn't be a difficult task. 5 elements. I'm back to tell you to disband the dragon sect. Go as far as you can. Remember, don't show your face for the time being. Ah! Hearing the master's words, the 5 elements' old ancestor was completely dumbfounded. He couldn't figure out why the master would do that. After all, with his current strength and the master, dominating the chaotic world was something that could be done in a matter of minutes. Who could threaten them? He couldn't figure it out. As if he could guess the 5 elements' old ancestor's thoughts, Longao said, "The enemy I'm facing this time is too strong. He can easily destroy the entire chaotic world with just a finger. Even Dao, proving martial artists, are like ants in front of him." He shuddered in fear. Although he didn't know what the master meant and didn't know how strong the enemy was, he knew very well how strong Dao, proving martial artists, were. Even Dao, proving martial artists, were like ants in front of the enemy. One could imagine what kind of concept it was. How could he not be afraid? How could he dare to stay any longer? He immediately disbanded the dragon sect and went into hiding. Looking at the base camp of dragon sect before him, Longao was infuriated. Since he was facing 6 sovereign ancestors, he could not implicate the innocent. He believed that once the 6 of them discovered this place, they would definitely destroy it. There was no need to hurt the innocent. After awakening his essence spirit, Longao's mental state had completely changed. "Yizong, where are the 5 of them?" "I don't know." He didn't know? Upon hearing Yi Zhang's words, Longao's face was filled with helplessness. It seemed that his disciple only knew that the other 5 were in the primal chaos world, but did not know their exact location. The most important thing right now was to find the 5 of them as soon as possible. It was just that the primal chaos realm had a total of 99 heavens. Wanting to find the traces of 5 people in the vast sea of people was easier said than done. Furthermore, the 5 of them definitely knew that the 6 Dao Corroboration Emperor ancestors were looking for them everywhere. The 5 of them had definitely hidden themselves. It was too difficult. What should he do? Longao, who was originally planning to find the 5 of them, suddenly had a change of expression. He was pleasantly surprised and immediately found a secluded place to prepare for a breakthrough. Ever since his cultivation had broken through to the peak Dao, proving heavenly venerate, he had tried everything to see how he could condense an origin domain and become a Dao, proving great emperor. However, it was easier said than done to break through. It was definitely easy to think about it, but it was extremely difficult to actually do it. However, as he comprehended the second move, sword breaking heaven and earth, and broke through to the 8th revolution, Longao vaguely felt that his cultivation could break through to the Dao, proving great emperor, at any time. However, it was still somewhat difficult to break through. At the peak of the mountain, Longao sat on the ground and began to rely on his enormous strength to compress the origin energy in his body. As long as he could form his own origin domain, he could smoothly advance to the Dao, proving great emperor. Compress, compress, and continue to compress. In just half an hour, Longao had completely compressed the origin energy in his body and formed his own origin domain. When he released it, his origin energy was all around him. Longao suddenly stood up. There was an indescribable surprise on his face, because he could clearly feel that he was an invincible existence in his origin domain. If a Dao, proving great emperor, wanted to continue to break through, he had to continuously compress the wheel. In this way, every time he rotated the wheel, he would be able to advance by 1 level and break through to the highest level, the Dao, proving great emperor 9th revolution. After successfully breaking through to the Dao, proving great emperor 1st revolution, Longao did not choose to give up. Instead, he was prepared to rely on the newly compressed origin domain in his body to continue to rotate the wheel, hoping to successfully break through to the Dao, proving great emperor's 2nd revolution. In the chaotic space, sky-devouring peak, Sky-devouring sovereign and the young master were extremely shocked when they received the news. They had never thought that 6 Tao proving emperor ancestors would join forces to issue an imperial ancestor hunting order. Moreover, it was a total of 6 Tao proving emperor ancestors. Such a thing had never happened in the chaotic space for countless years. Devouring Cloud, your friend, is really unusual. He actually dared to provoke Tao proving emperor ancestors, and 6 of them at once. Now that the 6 Tao proving emperor ancestors have jointly issued a hunting order, Longao will definitely die if nothing goes wrong. Sky-devouring sovereign did not hate Longao. Although Longao had once embarrassed him, no matter what, his son would not have been able to successfully become a complete Tao proving heavenly venerate without Longao's help. The young master was also worried. He could not figure out what was going on. He knew Longao very well. Previously, Longao was just an ordinary chaotic martial artist. He had only recently succeeded in Tao proving emperor ancestors. How could he have provoked 6 Tao proving emperor ancestors? Longao was not a fool. Tao proving emperor ancestors were lofty and unapproachable. Normally, it was difficult to meet one Tao proving emperor ancestor, let alone 6. There must be some secret that he did not know. However, the 6 Tao proving emperor ancestors had issued a hunting order. This matter could be serious. Even a complete Tao proving great emperor would definitely die, let alone a heavenly venerate. As long as someone could lock onto Longao's location, even a Tao proving emperor ancestor could easily destroy Longao, let alone 6 Tao proving emperor ancestors. There was no doubt about it. How did Longao provoke 6 Tao proving emperor ancestors? Father, I want to ask you for a favor. All right, I know what you want to say. Longao has done you a favor, and I will not repay his kindness with evil. I will not get involved in this matter. However, I will still say the same thing. The death warrant of the 6 great emperors is no small matter. No matter where Longao goes, he will be in danger. Chapter 34:12. He let out a deep sigh. Even if the young master wanted to help, he was powerless in the face of 6 Tao confirming emperors. Tunyin, I know what you're thinking, but I want to tell you that you must not interfere in this matter. Otherwise, the anger of the 6 Tao confirming emperors is not something you and I can bear. How could the young master not know what his father meant? He was helpless. He was even more helpless. 6 Tao confirming emperors. They were imperial ancestor experts. Chaos realm. Longao compressed the wheel for 3 days and 3 nights before his cultivation finally broke through again. He broke through from rank 1 Tao, confirming Great Emperor, to rank 2 Tao, confirming Great Emperor. Such a monstrous cultivation speed was really heaven-defying. But one had to know. It was almost impossible for other Tao confirming Great Emperors to break through a level without tens of millions of years or even hundreds of millions of years. On the other hand, Longao had successfully broken through from Peak Tao, confirming Heavenly Venerate, to rank 2 Tao, confirming Great Emperor, in just 3 days. He did not continue because Longao knew very well that even if he wanted to compress the wheel, he would not be able to break through to rank 3 Tao, confirming Great Emperor. Instead of wasting time, it was better to do something else. Longao, who had just broken through, was surprised. He tore the space and stepped out. Tao confirming martial artists could only stay in the space crack temporarily. However, Tao confirming Heavenly Venerates and Tao confirming Great Emperors could tear the space at will and enter the chaotic space to teleport. Longao, looking at the figure that suddenly appeared in front of him, marvelous mathematician Yi Bu's face suddenly changed. However, he did not say anything. Not only had he successfully verified his Tao, but he had also successfully become a Tao confirming Heavenly Venerate. So what if Longao was a Tao confirming martial artist? But what was the result? Yi Bu's face changed again when he suddenly felt the aura of the origin source domain released by the other party. Tao confirming Great Emperors. Yibu really couldn't figure out why Longao's cultivation had suddenly broken through to the Tao confirming Great Emperor realm. It was a special case that he could become a Tao confirming heavenly venerate. Longao's ability to walk in front of him in such a short period of time was a very terrifying thing in itself. Master God Diviner, long time no see. How have you been? Master God Diviner forced a smile and made an inviting gesture. Longao didn't stand on ceremony and sat down across from the God Diviner. Longao, your talent is really nature-defying. In such a short time, you have already become a Tao confirming Great Emperor. Obviously, he didn't want to dwell on this matter. Longao said, if I'm not mistaken, there should be an extremely powerful primordial spirit in your body. You're a Great Emperor? Since this was the case, the diviner didn't say anything else. He nodded and said, to be honest, Nangong Yin and I are both reincarnations of ninth cycle Tao confirming emperors. As expected, when he had been a Tao confirming Empyrean, Longao had already sensed that something was wrong with Nangong Yin and Master God Diviner. Now that his nascent divinity had awakened and he had successfully broken through to the Tao confirming Great Emperor realm, he was more and more convinced that they were the reincarnations of Tao confirming Great Emperors. That was indeed the case. He was very surprised. Even for Tao confirming Great Emperors, once their primordial spirit entered the cycle of reincarnation, it was still unknown whether they could successfully reincarnate and return to the Tao confirming Great Emperor realm. Longao, we're all strong cultivators who have reincarnated, but we're not as fast as you. We're not as fast as you. If nothing unexpected happens, you'll definitely break through the final bottleneck and become a supreme Great Emperor. Longao didn't think so. He knew very well that his cultivation speed had always been so fast. Although it was inseparable from the life and death experience, more importantly, he was also a reincarnation of an expert and a Tao confirming Emperor ancestor at that. Master God Diviner didn't know that the 6 Tao confirming Emperor ancestors had jointly issued a kill order to hunt down Longao. Otherwise, who knew what he would think? It was still the same sentence. With the change in his state of mind, Longao was no longer willing to kill Master God Diviner. Without the previous reason, there wouldn't be today's result. Although he could easily kill Yibu, even if Yibu was a reincarnation of a 9th cycle Great Emperor. You're leaving? Haha, I can see that you're afraid of me. I'm leaving, you don't have to worry anymore. Yibu awkwardly smiled. He was indeed afraid. He thought that once he regained the strength of a Tao confirming Empyrean, he would be able to easily destroy this person. But he never imagined that this person had already stepped into the Tao confirming Great Emperor realm before him, a strength that far surpassed his own. Yibu knew that as Longao wanted to, he could easily kill him at any time. Previously, he couldn't wait for Longao to leave, but now, Yibu smiled. He could sense that Lin Fan didn't have the slightest intention to kill him. However, Yibu still didn't say much. Just as Longao turned to leave, Yibu's face gradually turned cold. He said coldly, I will personally settle the grievances between you and me in the future. I must recover my strength as soon as possible. Yibu was indeed completely defeated. He was the reincarnation of an expert, and his primordial spirit had already awakened. Even so, he still couldn't catch up with Longao. Longao's cultivation speed was far beyond his scope of understanding. If Lin Fan was still a Tao confirming Great Emperor, he would definitely not give up this time. Yibu sighed helplessly. If he wanted to kill Lin Fan, he had to recover his peak strength as soon as possible. Soulbreak Valley. Currently, Duan Hun had successfully broken through to the half-step Tao confirming realm. However, it wasn't easy to reach the Tao confirming realm. Duan Hun, help me pay attention to these 5 people. Seeing Longao suddenly appear, Duan Hun was pleasantly surprised. He nodded and said, give me specific information about them. I'll give it a try. Even Duan Hun wasn't completely confident. After all, the Primal Chaos realm had a total of 99 heavens. It wouldn't be easy to find traces of these 5 people in the vast sea of people. The information about these 5 people is incomplete. Just give it a try. Longao gave Duan Han the information that Yi Zong had given him. He also considered Duan Han a brother and a friend, which was why he had asked Duan Han for help in this situation. After receiving the information about the 5 people, Duan Han smiled and nodded. I will try my best. However, at this moment, Duan Han seemed to think of something and asked in surprise, "What is your strength now?" Duan Han helplessly discovered that the current Longao was like an ordinary person. He couldn't sense it at all. Even if Longao had already reached the Tao-confirming realm, he shouldn't be this strong. Second stage Tao, confirming Great Emperor. Second stage Tao, confirming Great Emperor? What kind of strength was this? Duan Han's face was filled with curiosity. He didn't know what a second stage Tao, confirming Great Emperor was. Chapter 34:13. To Duan Han. There was no difference between a Tao-confirming martial artist and a Tao-confirming Great Emperor. Longao smiled and did not explain anything. Once he was strong enough, he would know. Before he had verified his Tao, he did not know that there were Tao-confirming heavenly lords, Tao-confirming emperors, and even the legendary Tao-confirming rulers. As for whether Duan Han could help him find the 5 disciples, it was still unknown. Chaos Realm. 99 heaven regions. Every heaven domain's territory was boundless. After breaking through to rank 2 Tao, confirming Emperor, Longao could have used his powerful primordial spirit to search for the 5 disciples in the Chaos Realm. In the end, he could not. Once the primordial spirit was discovered by the Purple Blood Emperor ancestor and the other 5, things would be troublesome. If he was at his peak, he would not be afraid of the 6 of them. However, at this moment, not to mention the 6 Tao, confirming imperial ancestors joining forces, even any one of them could easily destroy him. His primordial spirit was close to being indestructible. Even the 6 Tao, confirming emperors, could not destroy him completely. What he was most worried about was that if he were to be suppressed by the 6 Tao, confirming emperors, who knew how many more reincarnations he would have to go through before he could rise again. That was the most helpless thing. Staying in Duan Han Valley, other than stabilizing his cultivation base, Longao was trying his best to break through to rank 3 Tao, confirming Emperor. Every time he compressed the wheel, his strength would increase tremendously. Most importantly, he had to break through to the peak martial monarch realm as soon as possible. That way, he would be able to condense his own origin world and become a martial monarch realm martial monarch. If he did not break through to Tao confirming Emperor ancestor, he would not be able to fight against the 6 Tao confirming emperors. He had to settle this score with the 6 of them thoroughly. Duan Han did not ask further. He was fully focused on finding the 5 disciples. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, in the blink of an eye, 3 years passed by quietly. In the past 3 years, Longao had successfully stabilized his rank 2 Tao validation Great Emperor realm. However, it was not an easy task to successfully break through to rank 3 Tao validation Great Emperor realm. Brother Long, after 3 years of searching, I finally found one of them. Where? With joy in his heart, Longao asked impatiently. Of his 6 disciples, Sky Burial Emperor, Sky Chief Emperor, Sky Enlightenment Emperor, Sky Feather Emperor, Sky Fire Emperor, and Sky Water Emperor, only Sky Burial Emperor was by his side. The reason why Longao sought Duan Han's help was because Duan Han was born with a divine ability. It wasn't very powerful, but it was very mysterious. Once he locked onto someone's aura, he would be able to lock onto that person's exact location. Even so, it still took 3 whole years. Blackstone Heavenly Region. Blackstone Heavenly Region? Hearing this, Longao was completely confused. His disciple was right under his nose, yet he was still searching everywhere. He wanted to take Duan Han away from the Soul Break Valley to the Blackstone Heavenly Region to look for his disciple. Longao, what are you doing? Tearing space apart. Duan Han was a little dumbfounded, but he felt relieved after thinking about it. Although he still didn't know what realm a Tao confirming Great Emperor was, a Tao confirming Great Emperor was definitely above a Tao confirming Great Emperor. It wasn't a lie that they could tear space apart. Under Duan Hun's shocked gaze, Longao directly tore space apart and enveloped Duan Hun with his origin domain. The two of them stepped into the space crack and disappeared instantly. In less than a second, the two of them had already appeared in the Blackstone heavenly region. Until now, Duan Hun was still in shock. He finally saw how powerful Yi Shiwen was. It was too heaven-defying. It was completely teleportation, and it was teleportation in the chaotic space. Perhaps even a Tao confirming Great Emperor couldn't do it. Suppressing the shock in his heart, before Longao could ask, Duan Han had already said, "The person you're looking for is in a small village. Let's go." Their speed soared to the extreme. In a short while, they had already arrived at a remote village. It was completely a paradise, and it was difficult for anyone to find this place. "It's that person." There was no need for Duan Han to say anything. At such a short distance, Longao could clearly sense the other person's aura. Among the 6 disciples, the man who was currently working in the Zhuang family was Great Emperor Tian Kuei. Among the 6 disciples, Great Emperor Tian Kuei had the best temper and was also the one who could endure loneliness the most. Longao smiled helplessly and took a step forward, arriving in front of Great Emperor Tian Kuei. "You are?" The burly man looked no different from an ordinary person. When he saw the youth who had suddenly appeared in front of him, his expression changed. He immediately knelt down and said, "Disciple Tian Kuei greets Master." Tian Kuei could clearly sense his master's aura. It was his own master. Tian Zong appeared, looked at his junior brother, and said with a smile, "Tian Kuei, where are the other 4 junior brothers?" Tian Kuei stood up and shook his head helplessly. "Back then, Master forcefully sent us away. The 5 of us were forcefully separated in the chaotic turbulence. I've been waiting for Master for so many years, but I didn't dare to casually enter the chaotic space." Tian Kuei's meaning was clear. After all, if the 6 of them forcefully entered the chaotic space and were attacked by the 6 Tao confirming emperors, the consequences would be unimaginable. They weren't afraid of death, but they couldn't throw their lives away for nothing. "Your strength?" Tian Kuei said helplessly. "My injuries are very serious. Although I've recovered a little over the years, I'm still a Tao confirming emperor. If I want to return to my peak strength, it'll take me hundreds of millions of years to do so." Great Emperor Tian Kuei was very excited. He naturally knew that his master had been suppressed by the 6 Tao confirming emperors. He had thought that he would have to wait for countless years, but he hadn't expected that his master had already succeeded in confirming his Tao and had even become a Tao confirming emperor. Master was indeed master. He was different. "Master, what do you think we should do now?" You and Tian Kuei enter the chaotic Dantian to cultivate first. Wait for me to continue searching for the whereabouts of the other 4. Since things had already come to this, Tian Kuei and Tian Zong nodded and entered the chaotic Dantian one after another. Longao looked at Duan Han beside him. He didn't say anything, but the meaning in his eyes was clear. How could Duan Han not know? He smiled and nodded. "Don't worry. I'll do my best to help you find the other 4. Duan Han was very confident in his innate ability. As long as he was given time, he would definitely be able to find the whereabouts of the other 4. P.S. Please support Little Nine's new book, Cultivation's Berserk Upgrade. Chapter 3414. Soulbreak Valley. Longao had already been discovered by Tian Kuei while he was refining various pills. Tian Kuei's injuries were indeed very serious, and it had even affected his foundation. Ordinary pills couldn't heal Tian Kuei at all. There was only one kind of pill, the Emperor Reversion Pill. Refining the Emperor Reversion Pill required very precious spiritual herbs, and he didn't even have a single one of the 6 spiritual herbs required. However, this wasn't a problem for Longao. The Primal Chaos Realm had a total of 99 heavens, and there were countless places that sold spiritual herbs. Longao began to search for the 6 spiritual herbs everywhere. After spending a few days, he finally bought 5 spiritual herbs after paying a huge price. He only lacked the last spiritual herb to refine the Emperor Reversion Pill. However, before refining the Emperor Reversion Pill, he gave Tian Kuei various pills to recuperate his body. Longao, I know where to find the last spiritual herb you need. Where? Asked Longao anxiously. Longao naturally knew that he needed the 6 spiritual herbs. Once he gathered all of them, he would be able to refine the Emperor Reversion Pill. The Emperor Reversion Pill was beneficial to Tian Kuei and even Tian Zong. Once Tian Kuei consumed the Emperor Reversion Pill, he wouldn't dare to say that he would recover to his peak state, but he would at least be able to recover to the 7th or 8th stage of the Tao confirming Great Emperor realm. This spiritual herb can be considered rare or precious, but it can be bought. We can go to the pill hall. Pill hall? Wasn't the pill hall already destroyed? As if he could guess what Longao was thinking, Duan Hun smiled helplessly and said, the strength of the pill hall and the Domain Lord Alliance is obvious. Even if their headquarters were destroyed, the pill halls in the various heavens still exist, and the strength of the pill hall still exists. Longao nodded. Longao couldn't wait any longer. He immediately went to the various pill halls to look for it. Just like what Duan Hun had said, the last spiritual herb that he needed was easily bought. After gathering the 6 spiritual herbs, Longao began to refine the Emperor Reversion Pill. Given Longao's current level of alchemy, refining the Emperor Revitalizing Elixir was a piece of cake. In less than a few hours, he had already successfully refined 12 special-grade Emperor Revitalizing Elixirs. After taking the Emperor Renewal Pill, Tian Kuei needed time to recover. Heaven's Burial also swallowed an Imperial Renewal Pill. The 2 disciples stayed in the Primal Chaos Dantian to cultivate. Only 4 disciples remained: Tianqi Emperor, Heavenly Feather Emperor, Heavenly Fire Emperor, and Heavenly Water Emperor. Chaos Space. Currently, the Primal Chaos Space was in an uproar. 6 Tao confirming sovereign ancestors had jointly issued a kill order, which completely shocked the entire Primal Chaos Space. Many people didn't know who Longao was. However, many people began to search for Longao's whereabouts because of the rewards from the 6 Tao confirming emperors. Immediately after, the 6 Tao confirming imperial ancestors announced to the entire chaotic space that as long as someone could lock onto Longao's position, they would get a chance to attack any one of the 6 Tao confirming imperial ancestors. If someone managed to kill Longao, the 2 martial monarchs would have the chance to attack twice. What kind of concept was this? The entire Primal Chaos space was completely shocked. If a Tao confirming Emperor ancestor could make a move once or twice, then there was no doubt that anyone below the Tao confirming Emperor ancestor could be killed at will. No matter who it was, they couldn't resist the temptation of such a chance to attack. 95% of the Tao confirming emperors joined the ranks of people searching for Longao, as if they had gone crazy. Sky Devouring Peak. Ever since the young master's cultivation base had broken through to the peak Tao confirming Emperor ancestor, he had no intention of cultivating, let alone the so-called life and death experience. The 6 Tao confirming emperors issued a kill order and the chance to attack. If he didn't know Longao, he wouldn't have been able to resist such a temptation. Not to mention the rewards, just the chance to attack from a Tao confirming Emperor ancestor was too rare. If he had an enemy, then the success rate would be 100% with a Tao confirming Emperor ancestor taking action. There was no need to mention the strength of a Tao confirming Emperor ancestor. Apart from a Tao confirming ruler, who else in the entire Primal Chaos space could be a match for a Tao confirming Emperor ancestor? Father, I want to leave Sky Devouring Peak for a while. No. Sky Devouring Beast refused without even thinking about it. It was a complete joke. He knew his son best. His son wanted to leave because he wanted to warn Longao. He said coldly, the Imperial Ancestors' kill order has already spread throughout the Primal Chaos space. Longao must already know about it. Even if you go out now, you won't be able to find him. Before the young master could speak, sky-devouring beast continued. Once the news of you and Longao being friends reaches the ears of the 6 Tao-confirming emperors, you can imagine what will happen. How could he not know what his father was worried about? It would be a lie to say that he wasn't afraid. After all, they were facing 6 Tao-confirming emperors. Any one of them could easily destroy them. Father, as a friend, if we retreat in the face of danger, can we still be called friends? You should know better than me what crazy heavenly venerates primordial spirit represents. Longao gave me Zhu Yun's primordial spirit without hesitation to help me break through to the complete realm and become a heavenly venerate. Can an ordinary friend do that? Sky-devouring beast seemed like he wanted to say something, but he swallowed his words. He knew what his son was thinking. As a friend, Longao was indeed a good friend. After all, how could he not know what a complete realm heavenly venerate's primordial spirit represented? He felt helpless. Even so, facing 6 Tao-confirming emperors at the same time, if he didn't say anything, he and his son would be in a perilous situation. Father, I have grown up. As a friend, even in the face of life and death, facing 6 Tao-confirming emperors, I will not turn back, even if I die. Even if he died. Sky-devouring beast was stunned and looked at his son in surprise. He suddenly smiled and said, "You have indeed grown up. You are right. Between friends, even in the face of life and death, you must not turn back. Since that's the case, I will fully support you." As soon as he finished speaking, Sky-devouring beast stood up abruptly. The young man who had suddenly walked in was none other than Longao, who they had just been talking about. Longao did not continue to stay in Soul Break Valley. If Soul Break wanted to lock onto the traces of the other 4 people, it was not something that could be done in a year or so. That was why Longao had chosen to leave the soul-shattering valley and enter the chaotic space. However, he had immediately rushed to the sky-devouring peak as he knew that even though the chaotic space was boundless, there were people looking for him everywhere. The 6 Tao-confirming imperial ancestors had jointly issued a kill order, which was no small matter. After thinking about it, he felt that the sky-devouring peak was the safest place. P.S. Please support Xiao Zhou's new book, Cultivation Rampage Upgrade. Chapter 34:15. Please forgive me for disturbing you. The young master smiled and said, "There's no need to say so much between friends." After Longao came in, Sky-devouring beast did not think much about it because he knew that Longao must have his own secrets. Young master, Sky-devouring beast, I believe you already know that the 6 sovereign ancestors have issued a kill order. I'm here to ask you for a favor. Please go ahead. I want to ask, do you know where the Tian Fa Emperor is? Tian Fa Emperor had attacked him in the Nether Realm. This debt must be settled. Tian Fa Emperor must be killed. Longao did not act rashly. If he went out alone to find Tian Fa Emperor, he knew what it meant. The two were surprised. They did not know when Longao had offended Tian Fa Emperor. The two of them weren't unfamiliar with the heavenly punishment Great Emperor. They knew very well what the heavenly punishment Great Emperor meant in the primal chaos space. Brother Long, forgive me for being blunt. Tian Fa Emperor is a rank 4 sovereign realm sovereign. Why are you looking for him? Kill. The two were shocked. After all, Longao was only a complete realm sovereign. The gap between him and Tian Fa Emperor was too big. They were not on the same level. As if he could guess what the two of them were thinking, Longao smiled and said, I must deal with the Heavenly Punishment Emperor. You just need to tell me where the Heavenly Punishment Emperor is. Tian Fa Peak. Sky-devouring beast knew Longao character very well. He told Longao the specific location of Tian Fa Peak. Then I'll take my leave. Just as Longao stood up and was about to leave, the young master suddenly stood up and said with a smile, Brother Long, if you treat me as a friend, I'll leave with you. I'll never abandon you. He was touched. Only in life and death situations could he see a person's character. Longao smiled. The enemy I'm going to face this time is too strong. Even if I risk my life, you can't help me. This? Without giving the young master any chance to speak, Longao smiled and said, I appreciate your kindness, but there are some things that you can't help with. After saying that, Longao took a step forward and disappeared. He sighed deeply. Tunshin said helplessly, Tunshin, do you understand what Longao means? If you go out now, you won't be able to help him much. If you want to help, you'd better increase your strength as soon as possible. The young master's expression changed again and again. In the end, he nodded helplessly. In the end, it was still because he was not strong enough. No matter where he went, strength determined everything. After leaving the sky-devouring peak, Longao quickly went to the heavenly punishment peak. The reason why he didn't let the young master follow him was because he knew very well that the 6 Tao confirming imperial ancestors were too powerful. Even if he recovered to his peak state, he might not be able to defeat 6 sovereign ancestors at once, let alone now. Heaven Punishment Peak. It was the cultivation place of the Heavenly Punishment Emperor. The Heavenly Punishment Emperor was a rank 4 Tao confirming Great Emperor. When he failed to kill Longao, he was taken away by the Heavenly Burial Emperor. Although the Heavenly Burial Emperor only existed in the form of a primordial spirit, he was a complete Tao confirming Great Emperor at his peak. If the primordial spirit exploded, it would implicate Longao. If there were any accidents, the consequences would be unimaginable. Cultivating in seclusion and breaking through to the Tao confirming Great Emperor realm. Most of the time was spent cultivating. In any case, it was too difficult to compress the wheel every time. Even if one was talented, it would take countless years to compress the wheel. Longao had done it twice in just 3 days. It was unheard of. Long time no see. Tian Fa. How are you? Looking at the sudden appearance of this young man, Tian Fa bolted upright. His face was filled with shock. Of course, he knew what Longao meant. 6 Tao confirming Great Emperors had jointly issued a kill order. If he could capture Longao successfully, or even kill him, not only would he be rewarded handsomely by the 6 Tao confirming Great Emperors, he might even get the chance to take action by 2 Tao confirming Great Emperors. Ha! Ha ha ha! Ha 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 ha! He laughed out maniacally. His laughter was filled with joy. It was as though a pie had fallen from the heavens and hit him hard. He had searched for the other party countless times before, but to no avail. To think that the other party would appear at Heaven Punishment Peak all of a sudden. Rank 4 Tao confirming Great Emperor. Longao laughed coldly in his heart. If it were in the past, he would definitely not be a match for the other party. But right now, the situation was different. His cultivation state had already broken through to rank 2 Tao confirming Great Emperor. Even if he were to face a rank 4 Tao confirming Great Emperor, he would have no fear at all, cutting the weeds and digging up the roots to prevent future troubles. Since the Heaven Punishment Emperor was already his enemy, there was no need for him to leave this person alive. He had to kill this person as soon as possible. Longao, do you know that 6 Tao confirming Great Emperors have issued a kill order for you? Huh? You're really arrogant, aren't you? You know that there's a tiger in the mountain. Waving his hand, Longao's face was filled with disgust as he said impatiently, Heaven Punishment, let's settle the grudge between us today. You only have one chance to strike. I hope that you'll make good use of it. The Heaven Punishment Emperor was stunned at first. Then his face was filled with mockery as he glared at the young man before him coldly. Lad, who do you think you are? A mere Tao confirming Great Emperor full cultivation, Heavenly Lord dares to act so insolently in front of me? Today, I'll have to see just where you have the qualifications to be so arrogant. The gap between a Tao confirming Heavenly Venerable and a Tao confirming Great Emperor was too great. It was like an insurmountable chasm. Even if you beat Tian Fa, Great Emperor, to death, he wouldn't believe that Yi Shiwen could become a Tao confirming Great Emperor in such a short time. The Heaven Punishment Emperor did not want to wait any longer. He knew that as long as he could capture or even kill Longao, he would be able to find the 6 Dao confirming great emperors. Not only would he be able to obtain a great reward, but he would also be able to kill his enemy with the help of 2 Dao confirming great emperors. The Heaven Punishment Emperor was excited just thinking about it. A terrifying origin domain was released and instantly enveloped the surroundings. In the next second, the Heaven Punishment Emperor's face changed completely. He was shocked to find that Suemo had also released an origin domain. What was going on? How long had it been? Longao's cultivation had already broken through to rank 2 Dao, confirming Great Emperor, full cultivation, Heavenly Lord. Even though he had seen it with his own eyes, he was still unwilling to believe it. Aha. So what if you're a rank 2 Dao, confirming Great Emperor? I'll show you how big the gap is between rank 2 Dao confirming Great Emperor full cultivation, Heavenly Lord, and rank 4 Dao confirming Great Emperor full cultivation, Heavenly Lord. The Heaven Punishment Emperor released his origin domain frantically. Chapter 34:16. Under normal circumstances, the difference between a rank 2 Dao proving emperor and a rank 4 Dao proving emperor was extremely huge. The source realm that both of them possessed could not be compared at all. Boom, boom, boom. The more they fought, the more shocked they were. Even if the Sky FA Emperor were to be beaten to death, he would not have expected that not only would Longao reach the Dao proving emperor state in such a short period of time, his strength would also reach such a state. Unbelievable. How in the world did the other party do it? The more this was the case, the more he had to get rid of the root of the problem. There was only one word for it: kill. The Sky FA Emperor's attacks were getting crazier. Wave after wave, he did not give Longao any chance at all. Just like a cat toying with a mouse, Longao was toying with the other party just like that. As the battle escalated, the Sky FA Emperor started to realize that something was wrong. Longao, are you toying with me? Huh? This game of cat and mouse shall end here. Sky FA, let me show you what true strength is. Forbid! Along with the word forbid, the Sky FA Emperor was shocked to realize that everything about him was forbid. Even his essence spirit was forbid. What sort of a mystic skill was this? He had never seen or heard of it before. Sword breaking heaven and earth. Without even using the God of War sword, Longao used his finger as a sword. The sword chi was like a rainbow, causing the entire space to tremble. The Sky FA Emperor did not even have the chance to react before he was sliced by the sword chi. Trying to leave? The Sky FA Emperor was completely stunned. His essence spirit wanted to leave immediately. As long as his essence spirit was not destroyed, he could reassemble his body in the shortest time possible. How could Longao not know the intentions of the Sky FA Emperor? Grabbing the essence spirit of the Sky FA Emperor, Longao laughed coldly. The essence spirit of a rank 4 Dao proving emperor is pretty decent. Longao, I will. Not willing to listen to any more nonsense from the Sky FA Emperor, Longao destroyed the consciousness of the essence spirit and entered his chaotic dantian. Sister Yin, you broke through? Yunxi nodded in pleasant surprise. She had never expected that after devouring the primordial spirit, her cultivation would have successfully broken through to the high-level Dao validation, celestial venerable, in just a few years. Longao was a little disappointed. Originally, he had thought that since Sister Yun was able to devour primordial spirits, she would be able to break through to the consummation level and become a heavenly venerate. However, it seemed that something was not right. Still, it did not matter. For Sister Yun to be able to come this far was already an impressive feat, Brother Long. Thank you. Nodding with a smile, Longao looked at his confidants in front of him and said with a smile, I just killed the great emperor of Tian Fa. This is his primordial spirit. Let me check your bodies and see who is most suitable to devour this primordial spirit. Huh? This was a huge surprise. Of course, the girls knew what Tian Fa, Great Emperor, meant. He was a rank 4 Dao, confirming Great Emperor. His primordial spirit contained immense power. If he could devour the primordial spirit, he might be able to break through to the Great Emperor realm. Yunshi devoured the primordial spirit and broke through to the Tao validation, celestial, venerable realm. The stronger one was, the more they could help Longao. This was something everyone knew. However, no one said anything. Although everyone could devour the primordial spirit to break through, Longao's intention was clear. He wanted to choose the most suitable person to devour the primordial spirit. This way, he could absorb the primordial spirit to the maximum. Those who were suitable to devour the primordial spirit might break through to the rank 3 or rank 4 Tao validation, celestial venerable realm. Those who were not suitable to devour the primordial spirit might not be able to break through to the rank 1 Tao validation, celestial venerable realm, let alone rank 3 or rank 4 Tao validation, celestial venerable realm. Longao carefully checked the bodies of the girls. Yun Xian, Ling Ruoi, Han Yin, and Song Lin. Among the 4 girls, the most suitable person to devour the primordial spirit was Sister Lin. Looking at Song Lin, Longao said with a smile, "You are the most suitable person to devour this primordial spirit. Let's start now." Song Lin did not say anything, nor did she refuse. She immediately sat on the ground and began to devour the primordial spirit with Longao's wholehearted help. 1 year later, Longao said with a smile, "Sister Lin needs some time to integrate with the primordial spirit. As for how far she can go, it will depend on herself. You don't have to be discouraged. With your husband's strength, I will soon find a new primordial spirit for you to devour." Yun Xian said worriedly, "Big Brother Long, it doesn't matter if we devour the primordial spirit or not. The most important thing is that you must be careful. Otherwise, we won't be able to live alone." Longao hugged the girls in his arms. He was very touched. With such confidence, he was satisfied with his life. Longao decided that he must kill more Tao-confirming great emperors as soon as possible so that his loved ones could break through to the Tao-confirming great emperors. However, before that, he would tailor a cultivation technique that was most suitable for each of them. With such a suitable cultivation technique, it was like adding wings to a tiger for them. No one knew about what happened at Tianfa Peak. After all, the fall of a Tao-confirming great emperor would not be spread out. Even the fall of Longao did not alarm the entire chaotic space. Until now, everyone knew that there were 18 Tao-confirming great emperors in the chaotic space. No one knew that a Tao-confirming great emperor had fallen. However, once the news of the fall of a Tao-confirming great emperor spread out, it would definitely shake the entire chaotic space. No matter what, there were only 18 Tao-confirming great emperors in the entire chaotic space. Moreover, Tao-confirming great emperors were existences that stood at the peak of the martial Tao. Thousands of Tao-confirming great emperors, hundreds of Tao-confirming great emperors, including dozens of Tao-confirming great emperors at the peak realm. 95% of the people were trying their best to find Longao's whereabouts. However, the chaotic space was too big. No one knew where the end of the chaotic space was, not to mention ordinary people. Even Tao-confirming great emperors would find it difficult to find a trace of a person in the chaotic space. Otherwise, the 6 Tao-confirming great emperors would not jointly issue a kill order. When Song Lin's cultivation successfully broke through to rank 4 Tao-confirming great emperor, Longao finally heaved a sigh of relief. Song Lin was indeed suitable to devour the primordial spirit of Tianfa, great emperor. If it was someone else, they would definitely not be able to break through to rank 4 Tao, confirming great emperor. Leaving the chaotic space. Soul-breaking valley. Duan Han, how is it? Duan Han looked helpless and said, "Longao, I don't know what's going on. All these years, I have been unable to sense the whereabouts of the other 4. Forgive me for being blunt, but I really can't sense them if they have fallen and entered reincarnation. Other than that, I really can't think of any other reason why I can't sense their existence." Chapter 34:17. His heart sank. Longao had a bad premonition when he heard Duan Han's words. Back then, He had been besieged by 6 Tao confirming emperors. He had no choice but to tear open space and forcibly send his 6 disciples away. Tian Zhang's physical body had been destroyed, leaving only his primordial spirit. Tian Kuei's strength had weakened. If he hadn't swallowed the Emperor Renewal pill, he wouldn't have been able to recover from his injuries. The consequences would have been unimaginable. As for his other 4 disciples, he had no idea what had happened to them. His expression was ugly. Longao, why don't you try reincarnation? What do you mean? Longao didn't know what Duan Hun meant. Under normal circumstances, a martial artist, even a Tao-confirming emperor ancestor, wouldn't be able to find his primordial spirit unless it could successfully reincarnate. Longao, do you know about the reincarnation realm? He shook his head. What was the reincarnation realm? He had never heard of the so-called reincarnation realm. It's normal that you haven't heard of it. In the entire chaos realm, including the chaos space, there are very few people who know about it. Longao didn't say anything. He had already become a Tao-confirming emperor ancestor, but he still didn't know about the reincarnation realm. He didn't know about it, but it didn't mean that the other Tao-confirming emperors didn't know. Among the 18 Tao-confirming emperors, he was the last one to become a Tao-confirming emperor ancestor. Moreover, he had only risen for a short time. It was normal that he didn't know about the reincarnation realm. No matter who it is, even a Tao-confirming emperor ancestor, once they die, their primordial spirit will enter the reincarnation realm. As long as they pass through the reincarnation bridge, they can reincarnate. If that was the case, you know how to enter the reincarnation realm? Yes, but Longao, even if you can enter the reincarnation realm and meet the primordial spirits of the other 4, you won't be able to forcefully take them away. Why is that? The Chaos Great Tao has its own rules. Even if you are a Tao-confirming emperor ancestor, you can't break these rules. If you forcefully break them, the reincarnation realm will collapse instantly. You might even be suppressed by the Chaos Great Tao. I see. How could Longao not understand what Duan Hun had said? The primal chaos space had its own great Tao of primal chaos. Everything had its own rules. No matter who it was, no one could break these rules. At the very least, it was impossible to become a Tao emperor. As for whether a Tao-confirming ruler could do it, he didn't know. When he had become a Tao-confirming ancestor, he still didn't know if a Tao-confirming ruler really existed in the primal chaos space. He sighed deeply in his heart. He had been too hasty. Even if all 4 of his disciples had fallen and their primordial spirits had entered the reincarnation world, he should not have headed there. He should have thought of a way to find them after they had entered the reincarnation world. Furthermore, although Broken Soul was unable to lock onto the 4's tracks, it did not mean that the 4 of them had truly died. Perhaps there were other reasons. He seemed to be able to guess what Longao was thinking. Duan Hun thought for a while and said, Longao, why don't I try again? Maybe I missed something. Sorry to trouble you. It was not something that could be resolved in a short time. Longao did not continue to stay in the Soul Break Valley. He stepped into the primal chaos space again and prepared to continue hunting Tao, confirming great emperors. Longao would not show mercy to those who had accepted the Imperial Ancestors' hunting order and wanted to kill him. He would kill them all on sight. As for the 6 Tao-confirming ancestors, it was not the time yet. He would only have a chance to take revenge after his cultivation had recovered to the Tao-confirming ancestor realm. Suppressing the reincarnation world, Longao was indescribably furious when he thought about how he had been suppressed for the reincarnation world. He could not wait to tear the 6 of them into pieces. Endure. He could only endure. The 6 of them were more anxious than him. What he needed to do now was to increase his strength as soon as possible. Before the 6 of them found him, his cultivation had to at least reach the Tao-confirming ancestor realm. Enchantress Palace. A huge palace floated in the primal chaos space. It was a forbidden area in the entire primal chaos space. No one dared to approach it. Even Tao-confirming ancestor realm experts would have to inform the palace beforehand before entering. The palace master of the Enchantress Palace, the Enchantress Royal Ancestor, was considered to be above average among the 18 royal ancestors. Furthermore, she was very aloof and indifferent. If there was a disagreement, she would kill. She would not waste her breath on you. In the back garden of the Enchantress Palace, beside the Lotus Pond, an extremely flirtatious and shockingly beautiful young lady sat quietly by the pool. Her face was filled with sadness and loneliness as she sighed deeply. Brother Long, I was wrong in the past. I was afraid of death and did not help you. Not many people knew about the relationship between Longao and the Enchantress. They were in love in the past. However, when the 6 Tao confirming ancestor realm experts besieged Longao, the Enchantress did not help. After all, anyone would be afraid to face 6 Tao confirming ancestor realm experts at the same time, even the Enchantress Imperial Ancestor. The Enchantress also knew that the 6 Tao confirming ancestor realm experts had suppressed Longao for the reincarnation world. Although she knew about it, she did not dare to take action because she knew that if she interfered, the 6 Tao confirming ancestor realm experts would not hesitate to destroy her. The Enchantress knew that she was no match for the 6 of them. The Enchantress Imperial Ancestor's body trembled slightly when she heard the name. She slowly stood up and turned around to look at the man who suddenly appeared in front of her. Her face was filled with surprise and guilt. She could not suppress the reincarnation world in the end. She knew that even if the 6 Tao confirming ancestor realm experts joined forces, they would not be able to suppress Longao. However, she felt uncomfortable when she thought that he had been suppressed for the reincarnation world. No matter what, the man in front of her was someone she used to like. Even now, she could not forget Longao. You've finally succeeded in the reincarnation world. I've heard about the 6 of them joining forces to kill you. I'm sorry, I can't help you. She did not take action in the past, and she would not take action now. Again, Longao was not a match for the 6 Tao confirming ancestor realm experts when he was at his peak, let alone now. Although Longao was lucky and had succeeded in the Tao confirming ancestor realm, the 6 Tao confirming ancestor realm experts would not let him go. It was obvious what this meant. Longao had forgotten about the Enchantress Imperial Ancestor realm. He had forgotten about their relationship. A woman like her was not worth it. He would never step into the Enchantress Palace again if it was not a last resort. If it was possible, he would not want to have anything to do with the woman in front of him anymore. I'm here to take back what's mine. The Enchantress Imperial Ancestor realm sighed deeply. She knew that if she did not take action in the past, their relationship would no longer exist. No one knew if it was worth it to lose her lover to save her life. Chapter 34:18. She sighed deeply. The Enchantress seemed to want to say something, but she swallowed her words in the end. Longao, I've merged with that thing. Hearing that, Longao was furious. However, he held it in. Actually, Yao Ji wouldn't leave it for him after so many years. If that's the case, I'll take my leave. Longao, do you know what the conditions are for the 6 Imperial Ancestors to jointly issue a kill order? Longao didn't say anything. He just looked at the woman in front of him, the woman he once loved. As long as we can lock onto your location, we can invite any Imperial Ancestor to attack us once. If we can kill you, we can have 2 chances. You want to kill me? He didn't feel anything in his heart. At this moment, he had nothing to do with Yao Ji. Even if she wanted to kill him, he wouldn't be surprised. After all, no one could resist the temptation. Yao Ji didn't say anything. Longao didn't say anything either. They just looked at each other and stared at each other. For a moment, the entire garden was completely silent. At this moment, if I didn't merge with the treasure you left behind, I wouldn't have been able to form the world domain. Thank you. Longao still didn't say anything. The past was the past. There was no point in mentioning it again. As for whether Yao Ji had formed the world domain, it had nothing to do with him. Is there anything else? Yao Ji's eyes gradually turned cold. All of a sudden, Longao's face suddenly changed. He said coldly, "So you're deliberately stalling for time?" As soon as he finished speaking, the 6 Imperial Ancestors arrived. Purple Blood Imperial Ancestor, Yin Yang Imperial Ancestor, devouring imperial ancestor, heaven-shrouding imperial ancestor, ethereal imperial ancestor, and slaughter imperial ancestor. Haha, Longao, you're unlucky. Today, we must suppress you again. The 6 of them were surprised. Previously, he had been having a headache thinking about what to do. If he couldn't find Longao and let Longao become an imperial ancestor, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. But now, they had never expected that Longao would walk right into their trap. However, the 6 of them still thanked the Yao Ji Empress, as they knew what she meant. Every man for himself, and the devil takes the hindmost. Enchantress and Longao used to be lovers. When they suppressed Longao, Enchantress didn't do anything. Now, she even betrayed Longao. Longao, don't blame me. Longao's eyes grew colder and colder. Before coming here, he would never have believed that Enchantress would betray him. Back then, it was already very shameless of the Enchantress not to help him. Was he blind back then to see such a woman? Longao's heart sank when he saw the 6 emperors in front of him. If he was at his peak, he might be able to fight against the 6 of them and even leave. But now, the situation was completely different. He was only a rank 2 Dao affirmation Great Emperor. Even any one of them could easily suppress him, let alone going against 6 of them. Back then, the 6 of them couldn't completely destroy him. It was even more impossible for the 6 of them now. However, it was more than enough to suppress him. He was fearful. Longao, you really know how to take advantage of the situation. The 6 of us have only cultivated in seclusion for more than 1,000 years. Not only did you succeed in reincarnation, but you've also reached this stage. If we give you another 1,000 years, it seems like you'll be able to recover to your peak strength. However, you won't have the chance anymore. But don't worry, the 6 of us won't suppress you in reincarnation this time. The 6 of them weren't fools. If they kept suppressing Longao, no one knew when Longao would be reincarnated. If they were unlucky and Longao became an imperial ancestor, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. It was the only way. The ethereal sex imperial ancestor was the only female among the 6 imperial ancestors. She smiled coldly and said, "After our discussion, we've decided to seal and suppress you. We've also chosen a place for you. It's my ethereal peak." The ethereal peak itself was an extremely miraculous place. It was also the place where the ethereal sex imperial ancestor cultivated. After their discussion, the 6 of them decided to seal Longao under the ethereal peak. With their forbidden seal, unless Longao's cultivation could break through and become an imperial ancestor, Longao wouldn't be able to leave. There was no doubt about it. As for the seal, it was basically impossible for Longao to break through and become an imperial ancestor. He didn't even need to think about it. With the 6 imperial ancestors working together to seal him, Longao's cultivation would be sealed. Longao, if you surrender yourself, you won't have to suffer any pain. Otherwise, the ethereal sex imperial ancestors' words were clear, and everyone could understand it. At this moment, the enchantress said, "I don't want to meddle in your business. I don't want your chance to attack or any other conditions. I just want that thing. Take it out." The 6 of them nodded, and a ball of black light appeared in each of their hands. The enchantress looked at the 6 balls of black light and was overjoyed. She took the balls of black light and disappeared. Since she had already let Longao down, she would let him down no matter what. Back then, the 6 of you worked together to ambush me. You're imperial ancestors after all. How shameless. Ha, Longao, the winner takes it all. You lost back then, so you lost. We can suppress you for 10,000 generations. Now, we can still suppress you for 10,000 generations. You don't have a chance anymore. Ha, ha, ha. Longao did not attempt to enter his primal chaos Dantian. The 6 people in front of him were intermediate Dao, confirming imperial ancestors. All of them had condensed their own world domains. If he were to forcefully enter his primal chaos Dantian, once the 6 of them sensed it, not only would his primal chaos Dantian collapse, but even his loved ones inside would also suffer. He was alone, so he could do whatever he wanted, However, the situation was different now. If he could not enter the chaos Danteon, it would be difficult for him to escape from the 6 Imperial ancestors. Longao, we can give you 2 options now. The first option is for the 6 of us to suppress you. From now on, you can never leave Ethereal Peak. Longao did not speak. He just looked at the 6 of them coldly. If the 6 Imperial ancestors worked together to suppress him in Ethereal Peak, it would not be easy for him to leave. The second option is for you to surrender to the 6 of us and be our dog. In that case, not only will we not suppress you, we'll even help you to regain your position as Imperial Ancestor. Then, you can look down on the chaos space. How about that? The 6 of them had a good plan. Surrendering was the safest way. P.S. Support Xiao Jiu's new book, Cultivation Rampage Upgrade. Bookmark. Recommend. Chapter 3419. Submit? Lin Fan snorted coldly. How could Long Ao not know what the 6 of them were trying to do? If they wanted him to submit, even if he had to be suppressed for all eternity once more, he would never agree to it. That was just bullshit tea. With a face full of mockery, Long Ao replied coldly, "The 6 of you are still as shameless as ever. Lowly wretches. If you want to fight, then fight. Why do you have to spout so much nonsense? If you want me to submit, all 6 of you will have to die." Ha! Ha ha! Ha ha! The 6 Tao confirming royal ancestors seemed as though they had just heard the funniest joke in the world. To them, this man before them wasn't even worth mentioning at all. If they wanted to kill Long Ao, they could do it in a matter of minutes. Long Ao, this time around, we will not only suppress you for all eternity, but we will also seal you for all eternity. They did not want to continue with this nonsense. Long Ao already knew that this kind of situation was very disadvantageous to him. Boom! There was a loud explosion. Long Ao started attacking the 6 of them wildly, using his sword of heaven and earth along with his forbidden mystic skills. However, against the combined forces of 6 Tao, confirming royal ancestors, Long Ao did not stand a chance at all. The 6 Tao, confirming royal ancestors, Purple Blood Royal Ancestor, Yin Yang Royal Ancestor, Devouring Royal Ancestor, Shrouding Royal Ancestor, Ethereal Royal Ancestor, and Massacre Royal Ancestor, started releasing their respective world domains and stacking them together to suppress Long Ao. Middle-class royal ancestors could already create their own world domains. All 6 of them were mid-class royal ancestors. Just thinking about it, when the 6 of them worked together and released their world domains, one could imagine how horrifying the power would be. Ethereal Peak. The 6 of them had already chosen the place, which was the so-called Ethereal Peak. Ethereal Peak was a heaven-defying legendary weapon, and was also the place where the Ethereal Royal Ancestor cultivated. The 6 of them had already thought about it. If they were to just send Long Ao into reincarnation, even if they could continue suppressing him, they could not guarantee that they would be able to ensure that nothing would happen to Long Ao. If Long Ao were to return to his Tao-confirming royal ancestor state just like this time around, it would be too late for regrets. With the 6 world domains stacking together, Long Ao did not even have a chance to fight back. Only by suppressing it in the Ethereal Peak and sealing it with the world domain of the 6 of them could they ensure that nothing would go wrong. Ethereal Peak. When the Ethereal Peak opened, Long Ao was directly sealed. The 6 of them seemed to be afraid that something unexpected would happen, so they began to seal him. 6 world domains stacked layer by layer, sealing him continuously. We've finally sealed the Long Ao. Back then, we were careless and suppressed him in the 10,000 reincarnation cycle. We almost let him escape. Yao Ji is really ruthless. For her own selfish reasons, she would even betray her old lover. A woman's heart is really unpredictable. The ethereal sex imperial ancestor's face was somewhat unsightly. Although Yao Ji's actions could be said to have helped them enormously, what Yao Ji had done was truly a disgrace to women. If it were him, he would definitely not do such a thing. All right. With the suppression of the Misty Peak and the world domain seal of the 6 of us, Even if he has a heavenly might, he can forget about breaking out of the seal. The 6 of them heaved a sigh of relief. The 6 of them did not continue to stay, and each of them chose to leave. Only Ethereal Palace's Emperor Ancestor remained in the Ethereal Palace, as this was her place to cultivate. The news that Longao had been sealed by the 6 Tao, confirming Imperial Ancestors, started to spread in the primal chaos space. Everyone was shocked as they couldn't figure out how a Tao confirming Great Sovereign could be suppressed by 6 Tao confirming Imperial Ancestors. Tao confirming Emperor Ancestors were the pinnacle of the martial Tao. Other than the legendary Tao confirming Overlord, Tao confirming Emperor Ancestors were the strongest experts in the chaotic space. A Tao confirming Emperor Ancestor was enough to kill any Tao confirming Emperors, let alone 6 Tao confirming Emperor Ancestors. Everyone began to guess who the sealed Longao was. The other Tao confirming Imperial Ancestors were the most shocked. Many people knew about the enmity between Longao and the 6 Tao confirming Imperial Ancestors, but no one was willing to intervene in this matter. The strength of the 6 Tao confirming Imperial Ancestors was obvious. Yaoji Palace. Yaoji sat alone by the pool. She did not know if what she did was right or wrong. However, with this item, she could become a high-ranking Emperor Ancestor. Among the 18 Tao confirming Emperor Ancestors in the chaotic space, there were only 2 high-ranking Emperor Ancestors. One could imagine what it meant to become a high-ranking Tao confirming Emperor Ancestor. This was also the reason why Yao Ji was willing to give up Longao. Longao, don't blame me. It's every man for himself. She had already made a mistake once. So what if she made a mistake a second time? In any case, he had already made a mistake, and a mistake was a mistake. Even if he regretted it, it would be useless. The Enchantress was a cruel and merciless person. Otherwise, she wouldn't have hidden herself when the 6 royal ancestors joined forces to suppress Longao Wansher. On one side, it was love. On the other, it was strength and life. No matter who it was, they would not hesitate to choose strength and life in such a situation and give up love. At this moment, why have you come to my Yaoji Palace? Yaoji's face was gloomy when she saw the ethereal Emperor Ancestor. She might not be a match for the 6 Tao confirming Emperor Ancestors at the same time. However, she was confident that she could suppress the ethereal Emperor Ancestor in a one-on-one battle. If she had not ignored it, she would have lost her life, let alone become a mid-ranking Tao confirming Emperor Ancestor. Therefore, Yao Ji did not regret what she had done. He once loved you. You should know that he was good for you. Back then, he did not hesitate to fight with the Blood Abyss Emperor Ancestor for you. He was almost killed by the Blood Abyss Emperor Ancestor. However, you did not do anything. The Blood Abyss Emperor Ancestor was one of the 2 high-ranking Tao confirming Emperor Ancestors among the 18 Tao confirming Emperor Ancestors. Back then, the Blood Abyss Emperor Ancestor also liked Yao Ji and was a love rival of Longao. Even when facing a high-ranking Tao confirming Emperor Ancestor, not only did Longao not retreat, he even fought with the Blood Abyss Emperor Ancestor. It was an earth-shattering battle. Yao Ji snorted and said coldly, "It's none of your business. Ethereal Emperor Ancestor, I don't understand. Since you like Longao, why do you still want to go against him? You even suppressed him for 10,000 generations. This time, you're even more shameless. You actually sealed him under the ethereal peak. Back then, he betrayed me first. You can't blame me for going against him. As for now, I want to seal him in the ethereal peak. From now on, he belongs to me. No one can take him away. Only by sealing him in the ethereal peak can I protect him." Suppressed for 10,000 generations, the ethereal Emperor Ancestor was suffering all the time. However, there was nothing she could do. Back then, she had taken the initiative to confess her love. Not only was Longao unwilling, he even rejected her. Because of love, the ethereal Emperor Ancestor joined forces with the other 5 Tao confirming Emperor Ancestors to deal with Longao. In the end, they suppressed him for 10,000 generations. Love was the most terrifying thing in the world. It could make a woman do anything. Chapter 34:20. Do you think he'll accept you after what you've done to him? I don't care if he accepts me or not. As long as I can be with him, I'm satisfied. Yaoji rolled her eyes. She looked helpless. I don't want to know what's going on between you and him. Tell me, why are you here? The ethereal sex imperial ancestor suddenly released a terrifying murderous aura. You want to kill me? Long Ao gave you that thing. Hand it over, and I'll let you go. Otherwise, even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. She was furious. She didn't even want Long Ao anymore. The ethereal sex imperial ancestor had appeared out of nowhere. If it were any other Tao-confirming imperial ancestor, it would be fine. But this ethereal sex imperial ancestor was the only one. The ethereal sex imperial ancestor was a lunatic. Otherwise, she wouldn't have turned her love into hatred. She wouldn't have been so cruel to her lover. She wasn't confident that she could kill her in this battle. If she were to drag her down with her, the consequences would be unimaginable. She suppressed the anger in her heart. Ethereal sect, I've completely refined the thing he gave me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to become a middle Tao confirming imperial ancestor. She was furious. However, the ethereal sex imperial ancestor suppressed her anger. If it was Yao Ji, she would definitely be able to kill her. However, Yao Ji was now a middle Tao confirming imperial ancestor. Her strength was on par with hers. From now on, he has nothing to do with you. After saying that, she left and disappeared without a trace. Yao Ji stared at her, but heaved a sigh of relief. She knew that Long Ao was sealed by 6 Tao confirming imperial ancestors. As long as nothing happened, she believed that Long Ao wouldn't break out of the seal. Ethereal Peak. Back at Ethereal Peak, ethereal sex imperial ancestor looked at Long Ao, who was sealed in the peak. She wasn't happy at all. After so many years, she didn't know what she was thinking. Because of love. She still loved him after all. Otherwise, she wouldn't have joined forces with the other 5 Tao, confirming emperors to deal with Long Ao and eventually suppressed him to reincarnation. Regret? She would never regret it. Long Ao, back then, not only did you reject me, you even humiliated me. Today, the grudges between us are written off. From today onwards, we will stay together day and night, never to be separated. Devouring Peak. The 5 Tao confirming sovereign ancestors, Purple Blood sovereign ancestor, Yin Yang sovereign ancestor, Devourer sovereign ancestor, Shrouding sovereign ancestor, and Slaughter sovereign ancestor, had gathered together. The 5 of them had very ugly expressions. How could they not know about the relationship between Long Ao and Misty? It was because they knew that they were more or less worried. What do you think? Will Ethereal Mist let Long Ao out? That shouldn't be the case. Piao Miao was rejected by Long Ao in front of so many people back then. Her love had already turned into hatred. Otherwise, Piao Miao wouldn't have joined hands with us to kill Long Ao. Because of love, he could kill Long Ao. Because of love, he could also let Long Ao go. No one knew what Piao Miao was thinking. If Long Ao was suppressed in other places, it would be fine. However, he was suppressed in Misty Peak. It would be a lie to say that they weren't worried. All right, it has already happened. It's useless for us to worry. However, we still have to be on guard. After thinking about it, from now on, the 5 of us will take turns to watch. If Misty Peak dares to do that, the 5 of us will immediately take action and kill him. All right, let's do that. The 5 of them were very confident. Once they joined hands, even if they couldn't kill Piao Miao, they could still send him into reincarnation and suppress him for countless years. They were worried about Long Ao, but they weren't afraid of Piao Miao. If they were to fight him alone, they might not be able to do it perfectly. If they were to join hands, they would definitely be able to suppress him. However, Long Ao's situation was a little special. Back then, the 6 of them joined hands to fight against Long Ao. Although Piao Miao didn't use his full strength, Long Ao was able to fight against 6 of them alone. 3,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. The chaotic space had gradually forgotten that Longao was suppressed by 6 Dao confirming realm emperors. After all, Dao confirming realm emperors were too much for them to look up to. For the past 3,000 years, Misty Peak was very peaceful. No one dared to take a step in, and Misty Peak's royal ancestor never left. As for the 5 Dao confirming realm emperors, they would change people to watch over Misty Peak's royal ancestor every 1,000 years. They were afraid that Misty Peak's royal ancestor would let Longao go. How could Misty Peak's royal ancestor not know what the 5 of them were thinking? She didn't say much. In her opinion, as long as she could be with Longao, nothing else mattered. For the past 3,000 years, Misty Peak would talk to Longao every day, as if they were husband and wife. In Misty Peak, ever since Longao was suppressed, he had been cultivating. That was because he knew clearly in his heart that it was better to rely on oneself than to rely on others. Unless his cultivation state could break through continuously, it would be impossible for him to break out of the seal. If it were anyone else, it would be impossible for them to cultivate within the seal. Only Longao could ignore the seal and suppression and continue cultivating. However, even if he were to break through from Dao confirming realm emperors to Dao confirming realm emperors in the span of 3,000 years, it would be difficult for him to break through from Dao confirming realm emperors to Dao confirming realm emperors. However, he was already at Dao confirming realm emperors to Dao confirming realm emperors. He could break through at any moment. After being suppressed for 10,000 years, Longao's cultivation state finally broke through from Dao confirming realm emperors to Dao confirming realm emperors to Dao confirming realm emperors. 10,000 years, 20,000 years, and 90,000 years. Longao's cultivation state had already broken through from Dao confirming realm emperors to Dao confirming realm emperors. He could break through to Dao confirming realm emperors to Dao confirming realm emperors at any moment. However, that final step was way too difficult. There were many Dao confirming realm emperors who were stuck at this point, unable to break through to Dao confirming realm emperors to Dao confirming realm emperors. This was also the biggest bottleneck for Dao confirming realm emperors. Devouring Heaven Peak. The young master's face was grim. After 90,000 years of cultivation, not only had he broken through to Dao confirming realm emperors, he had even reached Dao confirming realm emperors to Dao confirming realm emperors to Dao confirming realm emperors. Even his father had broken through to Dao confirming realm emperors to Dao confirming realm emperors. Back then, when the 6 Dao confirming realm emperors had suppressed Longao together, he already knew about it. However, he was equally helpless against the 6 Dao confirming realm emperors. Even if any one of them were to appear, they would be able to kill him in a second, let alone the 6 Dao confirming realm emperors. As a friend, he felt a little guilty that he could not help out. Devouring Cloud, are you still thinking about Longao? Father, how are things going? The Devouring Heaven Emperor was exasperated as he replied, I've already asked around everywhere. Longao is still being suppressed and sealed within Ethereal Peak for 90,000 years. Heis. P.S. There will be an ending on the 30th of this month. There's still about 100,000 words left. Thank you for your support, brothers and sisters. Chapter 34:21. He was helpless. How could the young master not know what his father meant? There was a Dao confirming emperor ancestor living in the Ethereal Peak, and there were 5 other Dao confirming emperor ancestors eyeing it. If he wanted to save Longao, there was only one word to describe it: difficult. Tunyan, don't think about Longao. Although you see him as a friend, you have to act within your means. Otherwise, it would be useless even if you lose your life. He nodded. Even if he was unwilling, he could only do so. He could only choose to give up in the face of a Dao confirming emperor ancestor. What else could he do if he didn't give up? He would die if he fought back. He wouldn't be able to save Longao, and he would have to pay with his life. After 90,000 years of cultivation, Duan Han had become a Dao confirming emperor ancestor. Duan Han also knew about the matter of Long Ao being suppressed. He also knew that there were Dao confirming heavenly venerables, Dao confirming great emperors, and Dao confirming emperor ancestors. He was helpless. Even if he wanted to save Long Ao, he could only watch helplessly. As for Nangong Yin and the marvelous mathematician, both of them had awakened their primordial spirits and recovered to the Dao confirming emperor ancestor realm. Both of them went into seclusion to cultivate, hoping to break through the bottleneck and become Dao confirming emperor ancestors. Only by breaking through this step could they be considered to have reached the pinnacle of the martial Dao. This step was far too difficult. Ethereal Peak, Ethereal Palace. As time passed, Ethereal Peak's royal ancestor looked sad. She didn't know what was wrong with her. Regret? Or was it unwillingness? Or guilt? Back then, Long Ao had only rejected her in front of everyone. However, she had gone against him time and time again. Was it really because of love that she hated him? Long Ao, it's been 90,000 years. We've already stayed here for 90,000 years. Could it be that I'm wrong? At this moment, Ethereal Peak's face changed, and she stood up. She felt the terrifying aura released from the Ethereal Peak, and her face was filled with disbelief. Shrouding Heaven's ancestor arrived in the blink of an eye. His expression was grave and ugly. He stared at Misty Peak and asked, "Misty, what's going on?" Misty could not believe it. After thinking for a while, she said in disbelief, "This is the power of the world. He is actually gathering the power of the seal within the seal." Just a moment ago, Long Ao had finally reached the great perfection Dao, confirming great emperor from the 9 revolution Dao, confirming great emperor. Not only that, Long Ao struck while the iron was hot. He immediately began to accumulate the force of his world in his dantian. He would only be able to break free from the seal when he broke through to the martial dominator realm. Heaven-shrouding Patriarch's face fell. An hour later, the other 4 Dao confirming imperial ancestors, Purple Blood Imperial Ancestor, Yin-Yang Imperial Ancestor, Devourer Imperial Ancestor, and Slaughter Imperial Ancestor, were all present. The 6 of them couldn't figure out how Long Ao did it. Even after being suppressed and sealed in the Misty Peak, Long Ao was still able to gather the power of the world. What's going on? He could not figure it out. Tell us, what should we do now? If Long Ao manages to gather the power of the world and become a Dao confirming great emperor, we will be in big trouble. The 6 of them were extremely regretful. If they had known this would happen, they would have killed Long Ao and sent him into reincarnation. Even though it would be troublesome and there would be many variables, they wouldn't have ended up like this. Now, Long Ao could break through and become a Dao confirming great emperor at any time. Misty, think about it. How can we suppress him? The Misty Peak was a heaven-defying weapon that Misty had obtained. I don't know. You don't know? The 6 Dao confirming great emperors worked together to release the world realm to suppress Long Ao. Even if Long Ao became a Dao confirming great emperor, it would be difficult for him to break free from the seal. However, Long Ao was too unpredictable. If Long Ao really broke free from the seal, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. The entire Misty Peak was filled with boundless aura. It was the Dao confirming great emperor who had started to gather the power of the world. In the Misty Peak, Long Ao was cultivating quietly. His chaotic dantian had undergone earth-shattering changes and was slowly transforming. Once the transformation was successful, he would be able to form a chaotic world. The power that he possessed would be incomparable to an ordinary Dao confirming great emperor. It was not an easy task to successfully transform and form a chaotic world. Even Long Ao himself didn't know how long it would take. Regardless, it was a good sign. At least his chaotic dantian had started to condense. As long as he could become a Dao confirming great emperor, he would be able to break free from the seal. The commotion in the Misty Peak had startled the entire chaotic space. Gradually, many Dao confirming martial artists, Dao confirming great emperors, Dao confirming great emperors, and even Dao confirming great emperors in the complete realm slowly gathered at the Misty Peak. No one dared to get close. What a joke! The six Tao, confirming great emperors, must be furious. If they offended the six Tao, confirming great emperors at this time, they wouldn't even know how they died. No one was willing to be implicated. In front of the Tao confirming great emperors, even Tao confirming great emperors in the complete realm were nothing. The young master and sky-devouring beast looked at the misty peak in the distance. Both of them were excited. After all, Longao had a good relationship with them. If Longao could successfully break free, it would mean a lot in the future. Time flew by. A year passed quietly. The six Tao, confirming great emperors, had strengthened the seal again. However, they could still sense the aura that was being released from the misty peak. It was still condensing the power of the world. Many people around were shocked, and their faces were filled with disbelief. Before Longao was sealed, he was only a rank 2 Tao, confirming great emperor. Now that he was condensing the power of the world, it could only mean one thing. Longao was condensing the power of the world to break through and become a Tao, confirming great emperor. In just a short period of 90,000 years, Longao's cultivation did not stagnate while he was sealed in the misty peak. Instead, he was advancing rapidly. In just a short period of 90,000 years, he had broken through from rank 2 Tao, confirming great emperor, to complete realm, and even started to condense the power of the world. Such cultivation speed was unheard of, and it was the best in the chaotic space. Many people admired Longao. Throughout the countless years before and after the chaotic space, only Longao could achieve this. There was no one like him in the past, and there would be no one like him in the future. Everyone stared at the misty peak, and they did not dare to take their eyes off it. Anyone could see that once Longao condensed the power of the world and became a Tao, confirming great emperor, he would definitely fight with the six Tao, confirming great emperors. A battle between Tao verification emperors was a rare sight, let alone a battle between 7 Tao verification emperors. It had never been seen before. Gradually, more and more people gathered around the misty peak. Please support Little Joe's new book, Cultivation Rampage Upgrade. Bookmark it and recommend it. Proud Dragon War God will officially end on the 30th of this month. Chapter 34:22. Time passed by continuously. The faces of the 5 of them were getting grimmer and grimmer. The 5 of them were clear that the longer this dragged on, the more troublesome it would be for them. On the other hand, Emperor Ancestor Misty's heart was filled with mixed emotions. His heart was filled with mixed feelings, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Did she want to continue sealing Longao? Or did she want to see Longao break out of the seal with her own eyes? No matter what, Longao was her beloved, in the past, in the present, and in the future even more. 10,000 years, 20,000 years, time was nothing to Tao, proving warriors. Each time they went into seclusion, tens of thousands of years would pass in the blink of an eye, or even hundreds of millions of years. Even so, no one was willing to leave right now. 6 million years passed in the blink of an eye. There were already people leaving. After such a long time, Longao still had not managed to gather the power of the world. Seemed like it wasn't going to be easy for him to become a Tao-proving emperor ancestor. Just what in the world was going on? The 6 of them were curious as well. Under normal circumstances, since Longao had already started gathering the power of the world, they believed that given Longao's potential, he would be able to break through to become a Tao-proving emperor ancestor within 10,000 years. But right now, a full 6 million years had passed, and yet Longao still had not managed to gather the power of the world to become a Tao-proving emperor ancestor. This was truly unbelievable. For the past 6 million years, the 6 Tao-proving emperor ancestors had been increasing the seals, hoping that they could suppress Longao. At this moment, they did not dare to take the initiative to release the seals and kill Longao. If it backfired and they went for wool and came home shorn, they would be in big trouble. And just at this moment, the entire ethereal peak no longer emitted any aura. It was as though it had returned to peace. Other than Misty, the other four Tao-proving Emperor ancestors heaved a sigh of relief when they sensed the situation. It was as though they were relieved of a huge burden. Thankfully, Longao did not manage to become a Tao-proving Emperor ancestor. Seemed like the power of the seals was enough to suppress Longao. Boom! There was a loud explosion. A series of long howls rang out across the world. Because of Longao's breakthrough, the 10 divine beasts of chaos had all broken through to the complete Great Emperor realm and became divine beasts of complete Great Emperor realm within 6 million years. Heaven-devouring Great Emperor Divine Beast, Nine-headed Infant Great Emperor Divine Beast, Candleshade Great Emperor Divine Beast, Pishio Great Emperor Divine Beast, Chunyo Great Emperor Divine Beast, Bayan Great Emperor Divine Beast, Sky-splitting Great Emperor Divine Beast, Golden Python Great Emperor Divine Beast, Nine-headed Dragon Great Emperor Divine Beast, Taotai Great Emperor Divine Beast. The 10 divine beasts of the great emperors collapsed the ethereal peak. Their huge bodies covered the sky as they let out roars that reverberated throughout the 9 heavens. A figure appeared with a furry ball in his arms. It was Piglet. Piglet had also become a divine beast at the Great Perfection Realm. Not only that, although Longao was forcefully sealed this time, it was a blessing in disguise. Not only had the 11 divine beasts reached the Great Perfection stage and verified their Tao as Great Emperor Divine Beasts, even the remaining 22 heavenly flames had been devoured by the flame of primal chaos. The flame of primal chaos had been devoured completely. The flame of primal chaos was no longer what it used to be. It emitted a cold light as it floated above Longao's forehead. It was a strange flame. As for Longao, after 6 million years of condensing a world, his primal chaos Dantian had finally condensed into a primal chaos world. His cultivation had successfully broken through to the Great Emperor realm. Longao, you're really stubborn. Even after all this, we still can't kill you. However, don't think that you can fight against the 6 of us just because you've broken through to the Great Emperor realm. This time, we'll kill you again and send you into the cycle of reincarnation to be suppressed. They were somewhat fearful. However, Longao was fortunate that he had only broken through to the Great Emperor realm. He had yet to condense a world territory and become a medium Emperor realm. Back then, Longao was a medium Emperor realm, but he could fight against 6 of them at once. Now, Longao was only a medium Emperor realm. It was almost impossible for him to fight against 6 of them at once. That was why the 5 of them did not put Longao in their eyes at all. They had already decided to use this opportunity to kill Longao and send him into the cycle of reincarnation to be suppressed again. As for the ethereal divine ancestor, she did not know what she was feeling. She did not want to fight anymore. She did not know whether she was right or wrong after all these years. No matter what, she still loved this person in front of her. Ethereal. Ignoring the 5 of them, Longao looked at the lady in front of him and sighed deeply. He no longer cared who was right and who was wrong. In the end, he had wronged Ethereal in the first place. Because of love, Ethereal was also a person with a bitter life. When she heard Longao call out her name, her misty body trembled slightly. She could no longer control her tears and slowly dripped down. She wanted to say something, but when the words reached her mouth, she was unable to say them. Seeing Ethereal's tears, Longao's heart softened a little. He said, "What happened in the past is written off. You and I don't owe each other anything. I'm sorry." After saying these 3 words, Ethereal finally felt relieved. However, at this time, the 5 Tao Vindication Imperial ancestors suddenly joined forces to attack Ethereal. Plop! Blood spurted out like a pillar. Ethereal had focused all of her attention on Longao. She never thought that the other 5 would join forces to ambush her. Her body flew backward. If she wasn't an intermediate Tao Vindication Imperial ancestor, this attack would have been enough to send her into the cycle of reincarnation. Longao took a step forward and hugged Ethereal. He slightly frowned. Although Ethereal had attacked him twice, he did not hate her at all. In the end, Ethereal was a pitiful person. He was the one who had wronged her. "Do you hate me?" At this moment, Ethereal was very weak. Her face was extremely pale. Longao shook his head and smiled. No. He took out a bottle of pills and fed it to Ethereal. Seeing that Ethereal still wanted to say something, he waved his hand and said, "Wait a moment." As soon as he finished speaking, Longao sent Ethereal and the other 11 divine beasts into his chaotic Danteon, which was his own independent chaotic world. Subsequently, Longao looked at the 5 coldly and said, "The mistakes you have made are unforgivable. I will kill you all. You won't even have the chance to reincarnate." "You?" Ha 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 ha. It was as if they had heard the funniest thing in the world. Not to mention that Longao was only an elementary Tao Vindication Imperial Ancestor. Even when Longao was an intermediate Tao Vindication Imperial Ancestor, he was still no match for the 5 of them. "Longao, we can kill you once. We can also suppress you again. This time, you won't be so lucky. We will suppress you for eternity." Chapter 34-23. Around Ethereal Peak. When everyone saw this situation, they all sighed endlessly. At this moment, many people had already guessed that the so-called Longao was one of the 18 sovereign ancestors. Longao did not want to continue talking nonsense. Although his cultivation base had successfully broken through, it was still impossible for him to fight against 5 sovereign ancestors at the same time. However, even if he could not win, he had to fight. This battle was unavoidable. Strike first. Longao did not like to be passive. He took a step forward, and the entire 9 heavens began to resound with dragon roars. Rumble, rumble, rumble. A 1,000,000 feet long divine lightning dragon appeared proudly and let out a series of dragon roars into the sky. Feeling the dragon roar, everyone began to retreat quickly. What a terrifying strength, what a terrifying aura. Just the aura alone was enough to kill any martial artist below the Great Emperor realm. Devouring the sky, a terrifying power descended. The 5 people's faces changed slightly. They had seen Longao's 3 killer moves with their own eyes and knew how powerful they were. They did not dare to be careless. In the blink of an eye, the 6 of them began to fight wildly. The 6 of them were intermediate sovereign ancestors. They released their world domains and began to stack on top of each other. If they encountered a beginner sovereign ancestor, they would have been forcefully suppressed and killed. Except for Longao, relying on a powerful killer move, as well as the world power that was different from others, Longao actually forcefully blocked it. The more they fought, the more shocked and incredulous they became. The 5 of them were shocked to find that Longao's strength seemed to have changed. Back then, Longao relied on his intermediate sovereign ancestor to resist the 5 of them. But now, Longao was not an intermediate sovereign ancestor. He was only a beginner sovereign ancestor. Yet, he could fight against 5 of them and was not at a disadvantage. Was this real? If they had not experienced it personally, they would not believe it even if they were beaten to death. After all, even an intermediate sovereign ancestor could not fight against 5 of them together. The more it was so, the more frightened the 5 of them were, and the more they wanted to eliminate him. No one knew. Once Longao regained his intermediate Tao and became a Tao-confirming imperial ancestor, his strength would be heaven-defying. At that time, even if the 5 of them joined forces, they might not be a match for him. Cut the weeds and dig up the roots to prevent future troubles. Swallowing the sky was not enough to kill the 5 sovereign ancestors. Longao was also struggling. With his current strength, it was very risky to fight against 5 mid-level Tao, confirming imperial ancestors. No one would be willing to do this unless they had no other choice. The second killer move, Sword Breaks the Universe. In front of Longao, he quickly condensed a huge sword that reached the sky and directly slashed towards the 5 people. Not only that, forbidden, as Longao uttered the word stop, The surrounding space began to stop. Be it space or time, both were forcibly stopped. What kind of concept was that? Even the 5 martial emperors who had reached the Tao-proving realm were suppressed under their shocked gazes. Their eyes were filled with terror. They could not figure out when Longao had comprehended such a terrifying skill. However, Longao's cultivation was still at the beginner Tao-confirming imperial ancestor level. He had not condensed his own world domain, so he could only stop the 5 of them for a second. In a battle between experts, this 1 second was enough to determine life and death. Sword breaks the universe. The sword chi was like a rainbow. With a loud bang, the 5 Tao-confirming imperial ancestors were all sent flying. Each of them was severely injured. However, Longao was definitely not in a good condition. He had severely injured the 5 Tao-confirming imperial ancestors, and he had also suffered a backlash. He almost could not hold on. If the 5 of them did not escape, once they launched a counterattack, it was really unknown whether Longao would be able to withstand it. However, the 5 of them were already scared out of their wits. How could they continue to stay? After everyone had recovered, fear was written all over their faces. Stopping everything, including space and time, was a divine ability that could defy the heavens and change one's fate. Even the 5 intermediate Tao-confirming imperial ancestors could not withstand it. Such strength was too terrifying. Longao did not continue to stay. He took a step forward and instantly disappeared without a trace. During the battle at Ethereal Peak, Longao had fought against the 5 Tao-confirming imperial ancestors and had severely injured them with a single sword. He had even forced them to retreat, which had completely shaken the chaotic space. Such a battle record had never happened before. Tunyon looked at Longao, who had disappeared, and seemed to have guessed something. He sighed deeply in his heart. He knew very well that the gap between him and Longao was getting bigger and bigger. It was unknown whether Longao was still willing to treat him as a friend. Tao-confirming imperial ancestors were supreme existences that they had to look up to. Tunyon sighed deeply and did not say anything more. He then turned around and left with the heaven-devouring Great Sovereign. In less than an hour, everyone had left. In the chaotic Dantian, Longao ignored the injuries in his body and looked at Piao Miao, who was in his arms. He felt helpless. From the beginning to the end, he had never fallen in love with Piao Miao. However, he did not expect Piao Miao to hate him because of love. Not only did she join forces with the 5 of them to kill him back then, she even suppressed him in Ethereal Peak this time. Hate? She did not hate him anymore. If it was not for him, Piao Miao would not have fallen to such a state. Qin Shuang and the rest did not say anything. They just looked at her, and they had already guessed something. Originally, they should hate this woman. Because whether it was back then or now, it was because of this woman that Big Brother Long was forcefully suppressed twice. However, Piao Miao was pitiful. In the end, it was Piao Miao who liked Big Brother Long otherwise. Piao Miao definitely wouldn't have reached this step. I can definitely cure you. Having said that, Longao knew very well that Piao Miao would have died if she was attacked by the 5 intermediate Tao-confirming emperor ancestors. It was a miracle that Piao Miao could survive until now. Although Piao Miao had broken through to the intermediate Tao-confirming emperor ancestor level and her primordial spirit was close to being immortal, it was impossible for her to die. However, Piao Miao would enter reincarnation. Even without the suppression of the 5 Tao-confirming emperor ancestors, it was still unknown when Piao Miao would be able to reincarnate and return to her peak state. 10,000 years? 100 million years? Or trillions of years? Longao did not dare to take the risk. Although he was not tempted, he could not bear to let Piao Miao enter reincarnation no matter what. Seeming to be able to guess what Longao was thinking, Misty smiled and shook her head. She said very weakly, I have a way to not fall. Similarly, I don't have to enter the cycle of reincarnation. When the 5 of them sneak attacked me, I was also able to dodge. Longao did not say anything. He had already guessed what Piao Miao meant. He sighed deeply again. He wanted to say something, but he did not know what to say. Chapter 34:24. I'll let you down back then. If I want to forget the hatred, I have to experience reincarnation again. Have you really decided? Yes, don't worry. No matter how long it takes, it's a good thing for me. She nodded. Longao knew what Piao Miao meant. He gently carried her and left the chaotic Dantian. Piao Miao Peak. Longao, before I enter reincarnation, I want to ask you something. Without waiting to ask, Longao already knew what the other party wanted to ask him. He smiled. The day you succeed in reincarnation and recover is the day I accept you. Piao Miao smiled. She was waiting for this sentence. In the next second, her body slowly dissipated and her primordial spirit entered reincarnation. Perhaps it was because of this incident that Longao's state of mind changed again. If it were him back then, he would definitely not accept Piao Miao. But now, Longao was ready to accept Piao Miao. But he had to wait until she succeeded in reincarnation. He believed that the day would not be too far away. Longao more or less had a place in his heart for this pitiful woman. Although Piao Miao was against him, he did not hate her. Unlike Yao Ji, who made him feel disgusted. If he could turn back time, he would definitely choose to accept Piao Miao and not walk together with Yao Ji. It was really a mistake. With his recovery, the chaotic space originally had 18 new Dao confirming emperors. However, after Piao Miao entered reincarnation, the chaotic space still had 17 Dao confirming emperors. Longao knew very well that he was able to force the 5 Dao confirming emperors to retreat. Other than the sword breaks heaven and earth, the most important thing was the divine power derived from the 8th transformation of the 9 revolution chaos technique. Space-time divine power was too heaven-defying. Just the restriction alone could allow him to directly injure the 5 Dao confirming emperors when he was at the beginner level. Space-time divine power had 3 major killing moves. Space-time restriction was just one of them. There was also space-time rewind and space-time advance. Space-time rewind was especially heaven-defying. However, with his current strength, if he used it forcefully, it would consume too much of his energy. If it was a one-on-one fight, he would have no problem using space-time rewind. However, the other party had 5 Dao confirming emperors. If he was weakened, the loss would outweigh the gain. Go for wool and come home shorn. Emperor Tianzong and Emperor Tian Kuei saw that their master had finally broken out of the cocoon and was a Dao sovereign ancestor. They knelt down and said happily, "Congratulations, master, for reaching the peak again." Peak? What was the pinnacle? Not to mention the current him. Even a peak Dao affirmation sovereign ancestor was not the true peak. In the primal chaos dimension, there was only one true peak existence, and that was the Dao validation ruler, who stood above the Dao validation sovereign ancestor. He didn't know if a Dao confirming sovereign existed. Most likely, no one in the entire primal chaos space knew. Back then, he was a genius. He had created the 9 revolution primal chaos mantra and walked step by step to become an emperor ancestor. If he had not died, he would have reached the peak of the Dao sovereign ancestor realm. I already know the whereabouts of the other 4 Humph. Hearing their master's words, the two of them looked at each other. They didn't know what their master meant. There was something fishy going on. Tianzong asked tentatively, "Master, what's going on?" Emperor Tianzong, Emperor Tian Kuei, Emperor Tian Shi, Emperor Tian Yu, Emperor Tian Hua, and Emperor Tian Shui. He had a total of 6 disciples. Tianzong and Tian Kuei had been found, and there were still 4 others. Tian Hua is the 5 elements old ancestor. It seems that he has fallen and entered the cycle of reincarnation. However, he hasn't awakened his primordial spirit yet. Once he does, he will come and find me. Emperor Tian Hua? Hearing their master's words, the 2 of them were overjoyed. The 6 of them were as close as brothers. If they could all gather together, they would be more than happy. As for Emperor Tian Shui, even I can't sense it. I'm afraid that he has truly fallen. Even his primordial spirit has been destroyed. The difference between a Dao validation great emperor and a Dao affirmation sovereign ancestor was too great. The primordial spirit of a Tao affirmation, sovereign ancestor, was infinitely close to immortality. Therefore, it was difficult for them to fall. Even if they fell, they would have a 100% chance of reincarnation, unless someone deliberately suppressed them. However, it was different for a Tao validation great emperor. The primordial spirit of a Tao validation great emperor was too far away from immortality. Even when compared to a Tao affirmation sovereign ancestor's primordial spirit, there was still a big gap. The difference between a Tao validation great emperor and primordial spirit was like heaven and earth. Longao couldn't guarantee whether Emperor Tian Shui had truly fallen. However, there was a great chance that Emperor Tian Shui had truly fallen. Tian Ke and Tian Zong sighed helplessly. However, life and death were predestined. Riches and honor were in the hands of the heavens. They only hoped that Tian Shui would be fine. However, since their master had said so, it seemed that Tian Shui had little hope. Master, Tian Qi and Tian Yu. When Tian Qi and Tian Yu were mentioned, Longao's face instantly turned cold. The murderous aura on his body seemed to have materialized. Sensing the murderous aura released by their master, the two of them were shocked. They didn't know what had happened to their master. Why would he act like this when Tian Qi and Tian Yu were mentioned? I also didn't think that Nangong Yin was Tian Qi and the godly mathematician was Tian Yu. Back then, the two of them revealed our whereabouts and even secretly helped them deal with us. Otherwise, we wouldn't have fallen to such a state. The two of them were shocked. Even if they were beaten to death, they wouldn't have thought that their senior brothers, Tian Qi and Tian Yu, were traitors. However, the two of them couldn't figure out why they had fallen and their primordial spirits had entered the cycle of reincarnation. It didn't make sense. Master, Longao waved his hand and said coldly, the two of them wanted to devour my primordial spirit. They didn't expect that my primordial spirit would send them into the cycle of reincarnation. When I first awakened my primordial spirit, I still didn't have any memory of this matter. When I regained my primordial spirit, I remembered everything that had happened. Longao was filled with regret. When he met the oracle, his memory hadn't fully recovered. If he had known that the oracle was a traitor, he would have killed him on the spot and even destroyed his primordial spirit. He hated traitors the most. When it came to traitors, he would always cut the weeds and dig up the roots to prevent future troubles. The two of them no longer had any doubts because they were very clear that since their master had said so, the two of them were definitely traitors. They had always been very suspicious. The matter of that year was very strange. They would never have thought that there would be a traitor among the six of them. Master, what do you plan to do next? Cut the weeds and dig up the roots. The two of them seemed to have guessed it, but they still sighed helplessly. They knew their master's personality very well. Their master hated traitors the most. Back then, the two of them hadn't succeeded in devouring their master's origin soul. Now, their master would probably kill them directly. There was no doubt about it. You are? Imperial ancestor Shenwu watched the two perfected Tao, confirming great emperors come to his Shenwu peak for no reason. He was very curious, not knowing what they wanted. Imperial ancestor Shenwu was a mid-level Tao validation imperial ancestor. Even a peak Tao validation imperial emperor was like an ant in his eyes. Royal ancestor Shenwu, we are here to ask you for a favor. As long as you agree, we are willing to show our sincerity. What is it? Imperial ancestor Shenwu didn't agree immediately. He wasn't a fool. He knew what these two perfected Tao, confirming great emperors wanted. We have offended Longao. We hope that Imperial ancestor Shenwu can help us. Imperial ancestor Longao. Of course, he knew about the Imperial ancestor Longao and the six Tao confirming Imperial ancestors. Especially in the previous battle, Longao had forced the five Tao confirming Imperial ancestors to retreat with one sword. It had spread throughout the entire chaotic space, and everyone knew about it. Imperial ancestor Shenwu was sure that Longao was injured as well, since he was able to force back 5 Dao Vindication ancestors with one slash. However, the fact that Longao was able to do so showed how powerful he was. Imperial ancestor Shenwu didn't agree or refuse. He only looked at the two in front of him. His meaning was clear. Why should he agree to their request? It was a joke to provoke a strong enemy for no reason. Imperial ancestor Shenwu wasn't a fool. He knew very well what it meant to offend Longao. Although he didn't know Longao, they had known each other for a long time. He and Longao were both people who liked to fight. However, they had never fought before. "We are willing." Before Longao left Misty Peak, he used his terrifying power to seal it. He was waiting for Misty to come back. Longao felt very uncomfortable about the matter between Master God Diviner and Nangong Yin. Back then, if it wasn't for the two of them, he and his 4 disciples wouldn't have died. In his entire life, he hated traitors the most. Furthermore, back then, he had treated the two of them like father and son. They must be killed. Longao's cultivation base had successfully broken through to Dao, confirming Great Emperor Ancestor. However, it wasn't easy for him to condense his own world domain. At this moment, Divine Martial Peak? Spiritual sense transmission suddenly rang in his mind. It was a simple sentence. The person you're looking for is at Divine Martial Peak. Longao was not unfamiliar with the Shenwu Peak. As the cultivation place of Imperial Ancestor Shenwu, the Shenwu Peak was also a forbidden area in the chaos space. Imperial Ancestor Shenwu was very arrogant in battle and was very famous in the chaos space. Intermediate Dao, confirming Great Emperor Ancestor Shenwu. Back then, he might not be a match for an intermediate Dao, confirming Great Emperor Ancestor. However, now that he had successfully broken through to Dao, confirming Great Emperor Ancestor, even if he was just a primary Dao, confirming Great Emperor Ancestor, he wouldn't be afraid of an intermediate Dao, confirming Great Emperor Ancestor, especially in a one-on-one situation. Taking a step forward, Longao's figure instantly disappeared. In just a few minutes, Longao had already appeared in front of the Shenwu Peak. Longao coldly looked at Ancestor God Martial in front of him and the two people behind him. They were Nangong Yin and Master God Diviner. Longao's face became gloomier and gloomier. He coldly said, "You guys don't disappoint me. Master." Master? Imperial Ancestor Shenwu knew what had happened when he heard the two call him Master. He smiled and said, "Brother Long, I've never seen you before, but I admire you very much. You fought against 6 great emperors and were suppressed by myriad reincarnations. You're the first person I admire." Longao was indeed the first in the chaotic space to fight against 6 great emperors. However, Longao smiled and said, "They are my people. Brother Shenwu, could it be that you want to protect the two of them?" This was what Longao cared about the most. He didn't want to be enemies with Divine Martial, but it wasn't because he was afraid of them. After all, he knew Divine Martial very well. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he didn't want to kill them. Chapter 34-26. I won't get involved in your feud with them. Both Master Godly Mathematician and Nangong Yin were shocked to hear this. The two of them looked at Imperial Ancestor Shenwu in surprise. They didn't expect that a mid-level Imperial Ancestor Shenwu would go back on his words. Imperial Ancestor Shenwu? What do you mean? He snorted. I didn't ask for anything from you, nor did I give you any promises. Thinking about it carefully, it was true. They finally realized that Imperial Ancestor Shenwu did it on purpose. However, it was impossible for them to leave now. What do you mean? Longao was also curious. He didn't know what Imperial Ancestor Shenwu meant. Brother Long, although I've never seen you before, I admire your character. I just want to have a fight with you. As for those 2 traitors, I'll leave them to you. Imperial Ancestor Shenwu had already guessed the ins and outs of the matter. He was disdainful of Master Godly Mathematician and Nangong Yin's shamelessness. If it weren't for Longao, he would have killed them himself. Longao smiled. Master Godly Mathematician and Nangong In walked out in horror. They had entered reincarnation, and it wasn't easy to reach this step. They really didn't want to be reincarnated again. What should they do? Plop, plop. The two of them directly knelt down and said, Master, we were at fault for what happened back then. Considering that we have followed you to battle in the north and made great contributions, please show mercy to us, Master. Master? Longao looked disgusted and said coldly, I don't have disciples like you. I hate traitors the most in my life. Hearing this, the two shuddered. It was fine if they were reincarnated, but they were afraid that their primordial spirits would be destroyed, and they wouldn't even have the chance to reincarnate. It was fine if they were imperial ancestors. The primordial spirits of imperial ancestors were infinitely close to being immortal. At most, they could reincarnate, but their primordial spirits wouldn't really be destroyed. However, it was completely different for imperial emperors. With imperial ancestor Shenwu's strength, he could easily destroy them. It would be a lie to say that they weren't afraid. Shenwu didn't say anything. Before the two of them came, he had already decided to befriend Longao. It was not because he was afraid of him, but because he admired him. There were not many people he admired in his life, but Longao was definitely one of them. Master, Longao didn't want to waste time talking nonsense. He let out a dragon roar, and the origin world around him slowly condensed into a sword. The two of them didn't dare to stay any longer. As Longao recovered his Dao sovereign realm, they didn't even have the chance to resist. Run. The only thing he could do now was to leave this place as quickly as possible. Otherwise, he would definitely die. It was just that under Longao's sure kill. How could the two of them possibly escape? Boom, boom. Two streaks of sword chi streaked across the sky. Both the God Diviner and Nangong In were cut in half by the sword chi. Just as their nascent souls were about to enter the cycle of reincarnation. Oomph. Longao snorted heavily and looked at the two primordial spirits with a cold smile. If it was someone else's primordial spirit, Yun Xian and the others might have devoured it. But for these two primordial spirits, Longao did not even think about it and directly destroyed them. He was disgusted by the two of them, and he didn't even want to devour them. Longao wasn't as happy as he thought he would be after killing the two traitors. No matter what, he had taken in 6 disciples and taught them like his own sons. He had also done his best to help them break through to the Dao sovereign realm. However, he had never thought that the two of them would betray him in order to devour his nascent souls. Silence. Imperial ancestor Shenwu didn't say anything. Longao didn't say anything either. After an unknown period of time. Shenwu, what do you mean? Longao wasn't a fool. He obviously knew that Shenwu had done this on purpose. It could be said that Shenwu had never intended to help the two of them from the beginning. It was most likely that he wanted Longao to kill them himself. What was going on? He didn't know Imperial ancestor Shenwu at all. He only knew that this person existed, but he didn't know if he was a friend or a foe. It was nonsense to say that Imperial ancestor Shenwu was trying to curry favor with him. Imperial ancestor Shenwu smiled and said, Let's not talk about what happened in the past. I heard that you were able to force back 5 people with 1 slash. I really want to see your strength. He was indeed arrogant in battle. Among the 18 Dao sovereign ancestors, Imperial ancestor Shenwu liked to fight the most. He had been fighting nonstop to reach this level. All right. The two of them looked at each other. Suddenly, they laughed because they knew that they didn't have any murderous intent. They just wanted to learn from each other and maybe even become friends. Please, please. As soon as he said that, Imperial ancestor Shun Wu's terrifying battle intent burst out of his body and soared into the sky. The battle intent became stronger and stronger, and it continued to soar. It turned into a battle intent dragon that was tens of thousands of meters long. The dragon formed by the fighting spirit circled around royal ancestor Shenwu. It raised its head and roared. His expression changed slightly. Among all the intermediate Imperial ancestors, Imperial ancestor Shenwu was definitely the most powerful one. He was also the most promising one to break through to the advanced Imperial ancestor realm. However, this step was extremely difficult. Otherwise, there would be more than 2 advanced imperial ancestors in the entire chaotic space after so many years. What did that mean? The strength of imperial ancestor Shenwu was too terrifying. Ao Long didn't dare to be careless. He swallowed the sky. Rumble, 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 rumble. At the same time, thunder and lightning kept ringing. At the same time, a thunderous dragon soared up and let out an even louder dragon roar. Imperial ancestor Shenwu's expression changed as well. The 2 divine dragons roared continuously, one after another, resounding throughout the entire Shenwu peak. In the next second, the 2 figures moved. It was just a spar, not a real battle of life and death. Because of this, Longao did not use the war god sword. Thunder rumbled, and the dragon roared. Sword breaks the universe. Longao used his finger as a sword. Sword chi condensed, and the dragon turned into a sharp sword. It slashed towards Imperial Ancestor, Shenwu's battle intent. Universe Breaker Sword was one of Longao's most powerful killing moves. Aside from the time and space powers created by the 9 Revolution Chaos Mantra, Longao was confident that he could beat Imperial Ancestor Shenwu if he used time and space powers, especially time and space rewind and forward. However, it was still the same. He was just sparring with Imperial Ancestor Shenwu. There was no need to fight to the death. After a loud explosion, both of them backed off. The horrifying battle intent disappeared without a trace. Imperial Ancestor Shenwu's expression changed again. In the end, he sighed deeply and smiled. Longao, I know you still have a trump card that you haven't used yet. In fact, I have lost this battle. P.S. Please support Little Nine's new book Cultivations Rampage upgrade. Bookmark recommend Little Nine. Thanks everyone. Chapter 34-27. Longao just smiled and didn't say anything. Indeed, once he used his space-time superpower, Imperial Ancestor Shenwu had no chance of winning. It could be said that, in the entire Chaos Dimension, only high-level Dao confirming emperors and peak Dao confirming emperors could defeat him. Looking at the 18 Imperial Ancestors, there were only 2 advanced Imperial Ancestors, the God-slaying Imperial Ancestor and the Blood Abyss Imperial Ancestor. As for the peak Imperial Ancestors, there was only one, the so-called Daoyuan Imperial Ancestor. The Daoyuan Imperial Ancestor was the true strongest in the chaotic space. Unless there was a true dominator in the chaotic space, no one would be a match for the Daoyuan Imperial Ancestor. However, the Daoyuan Imperial Ancestor usually didn't appear or interfere in anything. At this level, the Daoyuan Imperial Ancestor only wanted one thing, which was to break through the last step and reach the legendary Dominator realm. This step was almost impossible to reach, because in the chaotic space, no one knew when Daoyuan appeared. They only knew that after Daoyuan appeared, he was already a peak Dominator. What did that mean? Brother Long, please? Nodding with a smile, Longao didn't refuse and followed Imperial Ancestor Shenwu into the Divine Martial Peak. Brother Long, I know everything that happened before. These people are nothing to worry about. But do you know why the other 5, other than the ethereal Imperial Ancestor, attacked you for no reason? Longao shook his head. Regarding this matter, Longao had always felt extremely curious. Everyone knows about you and Imperial Ancestor Yaoji. You even went against Imperial Ancestor Xue Ming for Imperial Ancestor Yaoji. Longao wasn't a fool. How could he not understand the meaning of Imperial Ancestor Shenwu's words? You mean that Imperial Ancestor Xue Ming is backing the other 5 against me? Yes, that's right. Longao was a little curious. He didn't know why Imperial Ancestor Xue Ming didn't do it himself. After all, Xue Ming was an advanced Imperial Ancestor and was far stronger than Imperial Ancestor Xue Ming. He seemed to be able to guess Longao's thoughts. Imperial Ancestor Shenwu said helplessly, although Xue Ming is an advanced Imperial Ancestor, he's very careful. He won't do it if he's not confident. Longao didn't say anything. He just listened quietly, Although you were only an intermediate Imperial ancestor, you were strong enough to fight against an advanced Imperial ancestor. Xueming wouldn't deal with you personally if he didn't have enough treasures. So that was the case. Longao finally understood what was going on. How shameless of the Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor. He didn't dare to attack himself, so he instigated the 5 of them to attack him. It didn't matter if he died or if the 5 of them died. It didn't matter to the Blood Underworld Imperial ancestor. If he had known that the Yao Ji Empress ancestor was such a shameless woman, he would not have offended one of the 2 high-level Dao validation martial artists for Yao Ji. Back then, he had been the most talented genius in the entire Primal Chaos space. Even so, in the end, he'd stopped at the intermediate level of the Imperial Ancestor realm and wasn't fated to attain the advanced level of the Imperial Ancestor realm. So, it was obvious how difficult it was to break through from the intermediate level to the advanced level. As long as one was not stupid, no intermediate Dao validation Imperial ancestor would be willing to provoke an advanced Dao validation Imperial ancestor. Putting aside the past, Longao knew very well that he might not be a match for an advanced Dao validation Imperial ancestor, even if he used his space-time divine ability. He didn't have any confidence. Brother Long, don't worry. As I said before, the Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor won't personally attack before he's fully confident. He's afraid of the unexpected. The biggest possibility is that he has 2 options. I'd like to hear the details. Longao was very grateful to the Imperial ancestor Shenwu. He knew that the Imperial ancestor Shenwu treated him as a true friend. Otherwise, the Imperial ancestor Shenwu wouldn't have told him this. After all, if the Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor knew about this, the Imperial ancestor Shenwu would have a powerful enemy for no reason. There was no need for that. First, the Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor will invite all the intermediate Dao validation Imperial ancestors, including the Yao Ji Empress ancestor and the Skybreaker Imperial ancestor, to deal with you together. Although I don't know if you can fight against 10 of them, once the Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor sends out an invitation, no one will dare to refuse. Longao nodded. He knew what the Imperial ancestor Shenwu meant. The Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor didn't care about ordinary intermediate Dao validation Imperial ancestors. Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor might be afraid of him, but he might not be afraid of others. Second, the Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor will be worried. Even if all the intermediate Dao validation Imperial ancestors join forces, they won't be able to kill you. After all, you're a variable. If they can't kill you in time, the first one to suffer will be him. Longao's eyes gradually turned cold. The Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor was the most sinister and cunning. He liked to attack people secretly. He was willing to sacrifice everyone for his own benefit. As long as the situation allowed, Longao would kill him without hesitation. However, if he wanted to kill the Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor, he would have to break through to the advanced Dao validation Imperial ancestor layer. It was easy to think about, but it was extremely difficult to break through. That's why, according to my guess, Xueming's second option is most likely to invite another high-level Dao, confirming Imperial ancestor to deal with you. You should know what it means to have another high-level Dao, confirming Imperial ancestor. Once he makes a move, the chances of you dying are very high. However, Xueming's Imperial ancestor will also have to pay a great price. The god-killing Imperial ancestor was one of the 2 advanced Dao validation Imperial ancestors. He was stronger than the Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor. He loved to kill and only cared about things. If the Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor could offer a tempting treasure, the god-killing Imperial ancestor would most likely attack. Longao's heart sank. He knew what the Imperial ancestor Shenwu meant. If that was the case, he would be in big trouble. If the Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor really asked the god-killing Imperial ancestor to attack, he would be in big trouble. Brother Long, no matter what, you should hide first. Putting aside the fact that you're a high-level Dao confirming Imperial ancestor, your current cultivation base is indeed a problem. If you can recover to the level of a mid-level Dao confirming Imperial ancestor, it'll be much easier to deal with them. Ao Long knew exactly what the ancestor meant. He nodded and said, "You have said a lot. That's how it should be." If he could successfully break through from the primary Dao Validation Emperor ancestor to the intermediate Dao Validation Emperor ancestor, he would be more confident in dealing with the situation. However, it would be difficult for him to recover. First, he would have to condense the world energy in his body into a world domain. How should he do that? Brother Long, I have a way to help you condense a world territory within 10,000 years. Then you can break through to the intermediate Dao Validation Imperial Ancestor layer. Chapter 3428. What is it? Long Ao was pleasantly surprised to hear that Imperial Ancestor Shenwu had a way to condense his own world domain in 10,000 years. If he could successfully condense his world domain and become a mid-level Imperial Ancestor, he would be able to fight against two high-level Imperial Ancestors. Imperial Ancestor Shenwu smiled. Brother Long, you've reincarnated. If you want to condense your world domain in the shortest time possible, you must take it back. Before Imperial Ancestor Shenwu could say anything, Long Ao waved his hand to stop Imperial Ancestor Shenwu from continuing. He looked helpless. Long Ao said bitterly, "Brother Shenwu, I know what you mean, but the enchantress has refined my item." At this point, the meaning behind his words was very clear. Imperial Ancestor Shenwu was not a fool. How could he not understand? He sighed deeply. He had heard about what happened between Long Ao and the enchantress. The enchantress was cruel. Not only did she not help back then, she even refined Long Ao's item. He was in big trouble. Imperial Ancestor Shenwu knew what it meant. Brother Long, you should know that if you lose that item, you'll have to start from scratch. It'll be much more difficult than usual. Long Ao nodded. How could Long Ao not know? Previously, when he knew that Yao Ji had refined his things, he was also very angry. However, the current him did not have any anger. Everything happened for a reason. Perhaps it was because he had gone through 10,000 reincarnations that his state of mind was completely different. He cupped his fists. Long Ao stood up and said with a smile, "Brother Shenwu, thank you so much. I'll take my leave now. Let's spar again when we have time." Okay. Imperial Ancestor Shenwu knew that even if he wanted to help Long Ao, he was powerless. He felt helpless. The Enchantress was also a mid-level Imperial Ancestor, but since Long Ao did not say anything, he could not do anything. The Enchantress had just broken through to the mid-level Imperial Ancestor realm. It was not difficult for him to kill her. Even for Long Ao, it was not difficult. The reason Long Ao didn't kill Enchantress was because he still had feelings for her. After leaving the Divine Martial Peak, Long Ao's expression was also somewhat solemn. Although he could now defeat Intermediate Dao, confirming Imperial Ancestors, he still had to face Blood Nether Imperial Ancestor, who was a formidable opponent. If Emperor Shenwu's guess was correct, if the Blood Abyss Imperial Forefather invited the God-slaying Imperial Forefather to deal with him, it would be very troublesome. What the strength of the God-slaying Imperial Ancestor represented, he was most clear in his heart. There were a total of 18 sovereign ancestors in the entire primal chaos space, including himself. Among the 18 Dao confirming emperors, there were only 2 high-level Dao confirming imperial ancestors. Both the Godslayer Imperial Ancestor and the Blood Abyss Imperial Ancestor were super figures with exceedingly high strength. Within the chaotic space, the two of them were the most powerful existences in the primal chaos space apart from the remaining peak sovereign ancestors. It was unknown how strong the Blood Abyss Imperial Ancestor was, but he was extremely cautious. Under normal circumstances, he would not attack casually. Even when he had fought with the Blood Abyss Imperial Ancestor, it had only been a few moves. He did not know anything about the Blood Abyss Imperial Ancestor. On the contrary, this God-slaying Imperial Ancestor understood it very well. The God-slaying Sovereign Ancestor was known as the second strongest expert in the primal chaos space. The first was the Dao Origin Sovereign Ancestor, who was also the only Sovereign Ancestor who had reached the peak of Dao validation. In the primal chaos space, there were three supreme being experts. The first was the Tao origin imperial ancestor. The second was the god-slaying imperial ancestor. And the third was the blood abyss imperial ancestor. The three Tao confirming imperial ancestors dominated the chaos space and stood at the peak of the martial Tao. If the blood underworld imperial ancestor really invited the god-slaying imperial ancestor to deal with him, Luo Yunyang wouldn't be a match for the imperial ancestor. The four major realms of Tao corroboration were elementary Tao corroboration, intermediate Tao corroboration, advanced Tao corroboration, and peak Tao corroboration. An early-stage Tao confirming sovereign ancestor could control the power of a world. A mid-level Tao confirming emperor ancestor would compress the world energy and form a world domain. High-level Tao verification sovereign ancestors condensed their world domain into a domain cage. Inside the domain cage of a high-level Tao verification sovereign ancestor was invincible. Finally, a peak Tao verification sovereign ancestor could break the world domain cage. As for the legendary Tao verification sovereign ancestor, no one knew what kind of power they possessed. Even the Tao origin imperial ancestor, who was known as the strongest expert in the chaos space, didn't know. However, to be able to break the world domain cage, one could imagine how heaven-defying a peak Tao verification sovereign ancestor was. In order to contend with a high-level Tao verification sovereign ancestor, one had to quickly condense the world domain within his body and break through from the elementary Tao verification sovereign ancestor to the intermediate Tao verification sovereign ancestor. Only then would there be hope. Otherwise, once he was sent into reincarnation, it would be difficult for him to continue reincarnating. He didn't want to continue being suppressed in reincarnation, not even for a single lifetime. Blood Nether Peak. Blood Nether Peak was one of the most terrifying forbidden areas in the chaos space. This was because everyone knew that there was a Blood Nether Imperial ancestor living in Blood Nether Peak. The Blood Nether Imperial ancestor was one of the two advanced Tao verification sovereign ancestors. He was very powerful because no one had ever seen the Blood Nether Imperial ancestor in action. Blood Nether's face was ugly. Previously, he knew that Longao had been suppressed by the 6 advanced Tao verification sovereign ancestors. However, he had never asked about it. After all, if there were no accidents, it would be impossible for Longao to reincarnate successfully. However, what had happened in the end? Because of the negligence of the 6 advanced Tao verification sovereigns, not only had Longao successfully reincarnated, but he had also unknowingly grown to such a level. Moreover, he had forced 5 advanced Tao verification sovereign ancestors to retreat. This in itself showed that Longao's strength was not to be underestimated. Although Longao was only a primary Tao verification sovereign ancestor now, it was hard to imagine. If Longao successfully broke through from the primary Tao verification sovereign ancestor to the intermediate Tao verification sovereign ancestor, how strong would his strength be? Blood Nether Imperial ancestor had been very cautious all his life. If he wasn't completely confident, he wouldn't act rashly. You can't do anything right. Blood Nether was furious. It was all the 6 advanced Tao verification sovereigns' fault. If he hadn't suppressed Longao personally, even if he had 3 heads and 6 arms, he wouldn't have been able to reincarnate so easily. Moreover, he wouldn't have reached this level today. However, it was too late to regret now. The most important thing now was to think of a way to suppress Longao again. This was the most important thing. Blood Nether's face became more and more solemn. After thinking for a long time, he could only think of 2 ways. The first way was to gather all the intermediate Tao verification sovereign ancestors, including the primary Tao verification sovereign ancestors, to deal with Longao together. The second way was to pay a huge price to invite the god-slaying sovereign ancestors to deal with Longao. Chapter 34-29. 2 options. Which one should he choose? The Blood Abyss Imperial Ancestor knew that if he invited the god-slaying Imperial Ancestor to help, he would have to pay a huge price. If he chose to gather all the mid-level and early-level Imperial ancestors to deal with Longao, there was no guarantee that nothing would go wrong. What should he do? It was hard to choose. He gritted his teeth. The Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor seemed to have made up his mind. He took a step forward and disappeared without a trace. God-slaying Peak. It was also one of the forbidden areas and the place where the God-slaying Imperial ancestor cultivated in seclusion. The God-slaying Imperial ancestor was known as the second strongest expert in the entire chaos space. His strength was second only to the Daoyuan Imperial ancestor. The God-slaying Imperial ancestor suddenly opened his eyes and sneered. His figure disappeared. At the peak of the peak, Blood Abyss. Why have you suddenly come to see me? The God-slaying Imperial ancestor's face was gloomy. In the entire chaos space, other than the Daoyuan Imperial ancestor, no one was worthy of his attention. The Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor was unhappy, but he endured it. He was very confident in his own strength. But compared to the God-slaying Imperial ancestor, who would win and who would lose was still an unknown. Because he wasn't completely confident, the Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor had endured it. The Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor forced a smile and said, God-slaying Imperial ancestor, I'm here to invite you to help me deal with someone. You can name your conditions. How about it? The God-slaying Imperial ancestor was surprised to hear this. He had never thought that the Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor would invite him to help. He snorted coldly. Blood Abyss, in the entire chaos space, other than the Daoyuan Imperial ancestor and me, who else is your match? Don't tell me that the person you want me to deal with is the Daoyuan Imperial ancestor. The Daoyuan Imperial ancestor was the strongest expert in the chaos space. He was also the only Imperial ancestor who had reached the peak of the Dao Proving Realm. An advanced Imperial ancestor and a peak Imperial ancestor were only one step apart, but the difference in strength between the two was like heaven and earth. If the Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor really wanted him to fight the Daoyuan Imperial ancestor, it would be suicide. He would kill the Imperial ancestor himself. How could Xueming not know what the God-slaying Imperial ancestor meant? He smiled helplessly and said, God-slayer, you must be joking. You and I both know what the Dao Origin Emperor's strength means. Even if Dao Origin didn't break through the last step, it wouldn't be difficult for him to kill both of us. I'm not going to kill him. Why would I provoke him? Who is that? The God-slaying Imperial ancestor was completely dumbfounded. He simply couldn't figure it out. Other than the Dao Origin Imperial ancestor and himself, who else among the 18 Dao confirming Imperial ancestors in the chaos space was a match for the Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor? Almost no one. There was no doubt about that. Who is it? Godslayer. Have you heard of Imperial ancestor Longao? He nodded. Everyone had heard of Imperial ancestor Longao. There was no need to talk about his talents and potential. He was also the person with the fastest cultivation speed. Back then, the 6 Dao confirming Imperial ancestors worked together to suppress Longao and suppress the world. The God-slaying Imperial ancestor didn't know that Longao had successfully reincarnated. It's like this. The Blood Abyss Imperial ancestor didn't hide anything and told them about what had happened. He also told them about how Longao had defeated 5 intermediate Dao, confirming Imperial ancestors with one sword. Because what had happened back then had spread throughout the chaos space. Even if he didn't tell them, the God-slaying Imperial ancestor would know about it when he attacked. Once the God-slaying Imperial ancestor knew about it, the situation would be completely different. The God-slaying Imperial ancestor knew Xueming's personality very well. He was very cautious and believed that Xueming wouldn't attack unless he was completely confident. Xueming hadn't personally attacked Longao back then, so he wouldn't attack now. However, the God-slaying Imperial ancestor didn't immediately agree or refuse. It wasn't difficult for him to deal with Longao, especially now. It was extremely simple. Not to mention that Longao was only a primary Dao confirming Imperial ancestor. Even if Longao was an intermediate Dao confirming Imperial ancestor, the God-slaying Imperial ancestor was confident that he could kill him. However, If the god-slaying imperial ancestor wanted him to attack, there had to be a corresponding price. Otherwise, why would he kill someone for someone else? God-slaying imperial ancestor, you and I are both smart people. There's no need to beat around the bush. What do you want me to give you to kill him? The god-slaying imperial ancestor smiled. It was a strange smile. Xueming, if that's the case, I won't be polite. I can help you kill Longao, but you have to agree to 3 conditions. If you don't agree to one of them, I won't attack. Please tell me, said the god-slaying imperial ancestor. As long as he could kill Longao, he would pay any price. He regretted what he had done in the past, but it was too late. He wouldn't make the same mistake again. This time, he had to eliminate the source of trouble. He didn't want to take risks, so he had to ask the god-slaying imperial ancestor to help him. Xueming had decided that as long as the god-slaying imperial ancestor could help him kill Longao, he would be satisfied. First, you have to work for me for 10,000 years, said the god-slaying imperial ancestor. When he heard that, Blood Deep's face darkened. He didn't say anything, but he clenched his fists. If he wasn't so sure, he would have killed Godslayer right then and there. Second, you have to give me the treasure you obtained back then, said the god-slaying imperial ancestor. The god-slaying imperial ancestor wanted to hear the god-slaying imperial ancestor's 3rd condition. The first 2 conditions were really outrageous. If he wasn't an idiot, he wouldn't agree. He believed that no matter who it was, nobody would agree. The god-slaying imperial ancestor smiled coldly. If the god-slaying imperial ancestor didn't pay a price, did the god-slaying imperial ancestor think he was stupid? The 3rd condition, Xueming, if you agree, I can attack right now and kill Longao. His primordial spirit won't enter the cycle of reincarnation. He'll be sealed in the god-slaying mountain. Xueming knew that the god-slaying imperial ancestor was afraid that Longao would enter the cycle of reincarnation. If he sealed his primordial spirit in the god-slaying mountain, it would be impossible for Longao to break out of the god-slaying mountain. Xueming didn't say anything. He wanted to know what the god-slaying imperial ancestor's 3rd condition was. Xueming, my 3rd condition is very simple. I know you have a way to break through to the imperial ancestor layer. Why don't you tell me, and we can break through together? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.